Rice but not firewood. A philosophy of giving and receiving. Would you give someone rice or firewood? Would you lend a coat but hesitate to give away a pair of shoes? You might have never thought about it, but what we choose to give or not give can reveal a whole way of thinking. There's an old saying, give rice but not firewood, lend a coat but never lend shoes. Sounds strange, right? But here's the wisdom behind it. Back in the May, people believed that giving rice meant saving someone from starvation, helping them survive a desperate moment. Because let's be honest, you can't focus on morals or purpose when your stomach is empty. Rice gives strength. It helps people stand back up. But firewood, that's different. Firewood is everywhere. If you're willing to go and gather it, giving firewood might seem kind, but it can make someone dependent. Just like a coat, it can shield someone from cold or rain, even if only for a while. But shoes? Shoes are personal. Everyone has their own size. You can't walk your journey in someone else's shoes. Shoes represent the path. You can show someone the way, but you can't walk it for them. The old ones used to say, help people in a crisis, not those who refuse to help themselves. Help them rise, not rely. Because helping doesn't mean carrying them forever. Helping is giving them a fishing rod, not feeding them fish every single day. True kindness is knowing what to give, when to give it, and why. Support people, but never let your kindness take away their strength. Compassion without wisdom can quickly become a burden. In life, you'll meet many who need help. Some just need that one push to stand back up. But others, they'll keep leaning on you, refusing to walk on their own. So before you help, ask yourself, am I helping them rise or making it easier for them to stay down forever? Will your kindness make them stronger or weaker? Helping others is an art. It's not always right to say yes, and it's not always wrong to say no. Giving the right thing at the right time to the right person, that's the kind of heart that's both kind and wise, because sometimes you're not just giving something away. You're helping someone stand up and take that first step in their own shoes. Story number 2, the wooden rooster of Ji Chongzi. What do you think makes a good fighting rooster? Aggression, fierce eyes, razor-sharp claws, charging at the enemy without fear? You might be wrong, because sometimes the true champion is the one who stands still, like a block of wood. Zhuangzi once told a story about Ji Changzi, a master trainer of fighting roosters for the king. The king was impatient. He wanted the rooster ready for battle as soon as possible. After 10 days, the king asked, "Is the rooster ready to fight us?" Ji Changzi replied, "Not yet. It's still too aggressive. It still relies on appearances. It's loud, impulsive, full of ego." 10 more days passed. The king asked again, "How is it now?" "Better," said Ji Changzi, "but it still reacts the moment it sees another rooster. It's still controlled by external triggers." Another 10 days. "It's improved," Ji Changzi said. "It's not easily shaken now, but there's still a fire in its eyes. It hasn't truly found stillness." Finally, after 40 days of training, Ji Changzi smiled and said, "Now it's ready." It no longer reacts to provocation. Even when another rooster charges at it, it stands still, like wood. Its spirit has turned inward, calm, grounded, unshakable. It no longer needs to scream to show its strength. And that silence, that stillness, is what terrifies its opponents the most. What seems like a simple story actually reveals a powerful truth. True mastery doesn't come from showing strength outwardly. It comes from containing it inwardly. It's not the absence of power, but the ability to control it. Not a refusal to fight, but the wisdom to fight only when necessary. Not fear, but the strength to rise above all distractions. Today, many believe that success means proving yourself, that you must show the world how good you are, that you have to shout to be heard. But the truly powerful don't need to raise their voice. They speak softly, yet command attention. They stay calm, yet make others uneasy. They are like Ji Changzi's wooden rooster, unshakable, rooted, powerful because they've conquered themselves. So if you're trying to grow, to get better, don't just focus on how you appear on the outside. Don't chase praise, medals, or applause. Build from within. Train your mind before your body. Because when your inner world is strong, you won't need to shout. You won't need to prove anything. Your presence alone will speak louder than any words, just like the wooden rooster, silent, but never underestimated. Story number 3, needle grass, quiet growth, explosive breakthrough. On the African savanna, there's a strange kind of grass with a powerful name, needle grass. Some even call it the king of the plains. But here's what most people don't know. For the first 6 months after sprouting, needle grass barely grows at all. It stays low to the ground, just a few inches tall, looking weak and fragile. Meanwhile, other grasses shoot up, turning lush and green. To an unknowing eye, needlegrass might seem slow, hopeless, or even a failure. But then the rainy season comes. Suddenly, needlegrass surges upward, cluster after cluster, shooting over 2 meters tall in just a few days. It forms thick, powerful walls of grass, standing tall against the harshest winds. Why? Because during those quiet, uneventful 6 months, needlegrass was never idle. It was growing downward, silently, digging deep roots into the earth, roots that can reach up to 28 meters long, anchoring themselves, absorbing nutrients, and building strength, waiting for the right time. And then, boom, it rises, fast, fierce, unstoppable. When the world finally sees its glory, it's only because it spent enough time digging deep. We often admire people who break through quickly, the overnight successes, the shining stars. But what we don't see is how long they've been growing roots, the long nights of practice, the silent failures, the crushing doubts, the moments they almost gave up but didn't. Needlegrass never tries to stand out too soon. It doesn't compete with other plants. It simply focuses on its own path, digging deeper, waiting, until the moment is right. And when that moment comes, it rises with power, and nothing can stop it. Life works the same way. Success doesn't come from rushing. It doesn't come from chasing quick validation. It comes from daily, quiet effort, from building deep foundations before you grow tall. So if you feel like you're falling behind, if you're working, learning, growing, but see no results yet, don't be discouraged. You might just be needlegrass. And what you need right now is not to be seen, but to root deeper. Because when your time comes, you'll rise higher, faster, and stronger than anyone ever expected. Story number 4, the piano virtuoso behind admiration. Lies effort. One cold winter evening, in a concert hall packed with people, a famous pianist stepped onto the stage. He began to play, and the music held the entire room in complete silence. When the final note rang out, the audience erupted. Applause filled the hall, and everyone rose to their feet. After the performance, a woman approached the pianist. She shook his hand and exclaimed, "I would give my whole life to be able to play like you." The pianist smiled and replied, "You just said that in a moment, but I truly did give my whole life to play like this." Not everyone understands. Behind a moment of brilliance are years of relentless grinding. Behind that level of mastery are thousands of hours spent practicing in solitude. When people admire the beauty of his music, they don't see the nights his fingers bled. They don't see the evenings he cried in frustration, angry at himself for not being good enough yet. We're often captivated by the result, but forget the process. We want the skill, we want the success, but we're not always willing to pay the price it takes. Genius isn't born. Genius is the one who's willing to repeat the same thing over and over until it becomes flawless. Genius is the one who accepts they might spend thousands of hours with no recognition, no applause, no praise, and still keeps going. If you are chasing a skill, a goal, a dream, don't just wish for the day people will admire you. Be ready for the years when no one even knows your name. Because the person who can endure the loneliness of practice is the one who will eventually shine brightest on the stage. Success isn't about being recognized. Success is when you're strong enough to keep going even when no one's watching. Story number 5, Liu Quan, a model of tolerance and grace. During the Song dynasty, there was an official named Liu Quan. He was known for his calm demeanor, his generosity of spirit, and his deep compassion for others. One day a citizen came to court, not because he was truly wronged, but simply to cause trouble. He shouted, insulted, and even used harsh, personal language against Liu Quan right in the courtroom. Everyone around was furious. They urged Liu Quan to arrest the man and punish him immediately. But Liu Quan simply smiled and said, "I am a public servant of the people. If someone is upset, let them speak. Only when I have heard them fully can I help them see reason. If I respond with anger, then how am I any different?" The man, seeing that Liu Quan stayed calm and didn't fight back, grew ashamed. In the end, he knelt down on his own and apologized. The story quickly spread across the region. People admired Liu Quan not just for his wisdom, but for the depth of his heart. Tolerance is not weakness, it is a form of strength. Not everyone can stay calm when insulted. Not everyone can rise above petty words. Some say tolerance is about forgiving others, but in truth, tolerance is about freeing yourself first. It's the ability to protect your inner peace from the negativity outside. In life, there will be moments when you're misunderstood, talked about, unfairly criticized. You may feel anger. You may want to retaliate. But in the end, it is your calm, your ability to stay centered, that sets you apart. Remember, maturity isn't about age. It's about not letting temporary emotions dictate permanent actions. Tolerance does not make you weaker. It makes others respect you, not out of fear, but out of genuine admiration. Story number 6, The Broken Glasses, a Teacher's Quiet Grace. One afternoon after school, a young boy rushed out of the classroom. In his hurry, he tripped on a chair, and his hand accidentally knocked a pair of glasses off the teacher's desk. They fell to the ground and shattered. He froze. Those glasses belonged to his homeroom teacher, a strict yet deeply caring man. The boy's hands trembled as he picked up the pieces. Sweat soaked his palms. He didn't even dare to look up. Just then, the teacher walked in. The entire class fell silent. He looked at the broken glasses, then looked at the boy. The boy stammered, "Sir, I didn't mean to. I'll pay for them." The teacher was quiet for a few seconds. Then, in a calm voice, he said, "The glasses are broken, but what matters is that you didn't run away." The whole class exhaled in relief, and the boy burst into tears, not out of fear, but because he was moved. The next day, he brought a small envelope to school. Inside was a few crumpled bills, all the money he had saved up, and a handwritten note. "I'm sorry, teacher. I want to take responsibility." The teacher looked at the boy and smiled. He didn't take the money. He just placed a hand on the boy's head and said, "I'm proud of you for having the courage to own your mistake." That moment stayed with the boy for the rest of his life, not because of the broken glasses, but because of the kindness of a teacher who taught him what it means to be a decent human being. In life, we all make mistakes. What matters is not how many times we're right, but how we respond when we're wrong. Do we face it or do we hide? And just the same, there will be times when others wrong us. In those moments, what they need is not punishment, but a chance to make it right. When we choose compassion over anger, we offer someone a bridge to walk from guilt toward growth. Glasses can be broken, but kindness lasts forever. Story number 7, The Wisdom of Letting Things Go. When blur becomes maturity, most people crave clarity. They want clear lines between winning and losing, between right and wrong. Every debate must be settled. Every argument must have a victor. But there is a higher way of living, beyond reason, beyond logic. It's called letting things blur. Many misunderstand this idea. To live blurred does not mean to be ignorant. It does not mean pretending to be foolish. It means you understand everything, but you choose not to expose. You choose not to argue. You choose not to win every time. Zheng Guofan once said, "The smarter a person is, the more they must learn to blur. Because those who see too clearly, live too heavily, they want everything defined, everything just, everything in their favor." But in many relationships, winning the argument often means losing the connection. To save someone's pride is to preserve your own peace. When a friend arrives late, you know they're wrong, but you smile and say, "Traffic must have been crazy today, huh?" Some might say you're too soft, but you understand. Kindness matters more than a complaint. When a loved one upsets you, you choose silence. Not because you're weak, but because you don't want to say something you'll regret later. Those who live blurred lives are not fragile. They've been through storms. They know what to hold on to and what to release. They no longer need to prove they're right because they've realized peace is more valuable than victory. So if you see someone who often stays quiet, who smiles and lets things slide, don't mistake them or naive. They might be practicing a higher form of living. No noise, no drama, no need to win. Because in the end, the strongest person is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the one who carries the lightest heart. True intelligence is knowing when to let go and when to let things blur. Story number 8, the gentle drip. You can only hear it when you're still. Zen master once led his student deep into the forest. He asked the boy to close his eyes and listen. The student furrowed his brow. I only hear the wind and birds singing. The master said nothing. He simply gestured for him to stay still. A moment passed. Then the student's eyes widened. Master, I hear a tiny dripping sound, like water falling from a leaf. The Zen master smiled. That is what I wanted you to notice, he said. Only when your mind is calm can you begin to hear the subtle sounds of life. Life is the same way. When the mind is noisy, we miss so much beauty. When we're rushing, we only hear the collisions, not the gentle movements all around us. How many times have you walked past a line of trees without noticing the rustle of the leaves? How many times have you passed a golden afternoon without seeing how the sunlight painted the rooftops? How often have we moved so fast that we miss the most ordinary, beautiful moments? When we are still, the world becomes clearer. We begin to hear our own hearts. We remember what truly matters. We learn what to hold on to and what to let go. People often say life is too noisy, but perhaps life is only echoing the noise inside our own minds. Learning to be still isn't about running away. It's about feeling more deeply, living more fully, understanding ourselves more honestly. Don't wait for the world to quiet down before you learn how to listen. Learn to be still within yourself first, so that even when the world is chaotic, you can still hear the soft drip of life, faint but real and deeply precious. Story number 9, The Lost Horse, when misfortune turns into fortune. Long ago, near the borders of the kingdom, lived an old man who raised horses for a living. One day his prized horse ran away, crossing into enemy territory. Neighbors came to offer sympathy. What a terrible loss, they said. A valuable horse. Gone. But the old man simply smiled and replied, who knows? This might turn out to be a good thing. Months later, the horse returned, bringing with it a wild stallion, strong and untamed. Now the neighbors came to celebrate. You're so lucky, they said. You've gained even more than you lost. But again, the old man just smiled. Who knows? This might not be such a blessing. Not long after, his son rode the wild horse and was thrown off. He broke his leg badly and would walk with a limp for the rest of his life. The neighbors came once more, offering their comfort. What a tragedy, they said. Such misfortune for your family. Yet the old man remained calm. Who knows? This might turn out to be a blessing. A year passed. War broke out. All the young men in the village were drafted into battle, except for the old man's son, who was spared because of his injury. Many never returned home, but the old man's son, though limping, was alive. From that day forward, people remembered the story and passed it down for generations. They called it the tale of the old man and the lost horse, because in life, blessings and misfortunes often trade places. What seems unlucky might be the doorway to something better. What seems like a golden opportunity might be a hidden trap. So instead of celebrating too wildly when you gain something, or despairing when you lose, learn to stay calm, because no one truly knows what is good or bad in the long run. When fortune comes, don't be arrogant. When misfortune strikes, don't be hopeless. Everything that happens to you could be a stepping stone to something greater. And often it's hardship that teaches us the lessons we need most. Blessing or curse, it may not lie in the event itself, but in how you choose to see it. Story number 10. The eagle that plucked its own feathers. How envy destroys from within. At the peak of a tall mountain, two eagles lived near one another. One soared high, powerful, graceful, and skilled at hunting. The other watched with envy. Each time it saw the other rise into the sky, something twisted inside. Why is everyone praising him? Why is he better than me? One day the jealous eagle went to a hunter. "I'll help you catch that other eagle," it said, "but you must promise to kill him." The hunter nodded. "All right, but I'll need a few feathers from your wings so I can craft a lure with the right scent." Without hesitation, the jealous eagle plucked out its own feathers and gave them to the hunter. But the first attempt failed, so it gave more and more and more, until finally, the hunter still hadn't caught the other eagle. But the jealous one could no longer fly. It had ripped out its own wings. The hunter looked down at the grounded, broken bird, then with cold eyes turned on it. Because what good is a bird that can no longer soar? It sounds like a fable, but it mirrors something we see every day. So many people, instead of building themselves up, spend their time watching others, not trying to fly higher, but trying to pull others down. They weigh their hearts with bitterness. They dull their spirit with comparison. And in the end, they lose the strength to move forward. Envy doesn't shrink the person you envy. It only shrinks you. Like the eagle who plucked its own wings. You lose your potential. You lose your essence. You lose your ability to rise. If you find yourself feeling envious of someone else, pause. Instead of looking at them, turn your gaze inward. Growth doesn't come from making others smaller. It comes from expanding your own self. Don't be the eagle who pulled off its feathers. Be the bird who chooses to rise higher each day. Because even if someone else is already flying, the sky is wide enough for all of us. Story number 11, rise higher so they can't reach you. They say eagles never fight with crows. Why? Because the crow is the only bird daring enough to land on an eagle's back, pecking at its head, nagging, provoking, trying to distract it. But the eagle never fights back. It doesn't turn, it doesn't bite, it doesn't waste energy. Instead, it simply flies higher and higher until it reaches a height where the air becomes too thin for the crow to breathe. Eventually, the crow falls on its own. The eagle doesn't need to fight. It just needs to rise. This isn't just a story about birds. It's a way of dealing with toxic people. In life, there will always be those who envy you, criticize you, try to drag you down. They are like crows, clinging to you with petty words, small-minded actions, and pointless attacks. You can choose to fight back, but the more you argue, the more you get pulled into their world. You lose energy, you lose focus, or you can choose the eagle's path. Keep doing what you do best. Keep rising through your work, your values, your calm. At a certain height, their noise won't reach you anymore. They'll fall away on their own, because not every attack deserves your attention. Not every critic deserves your ear. The best way to silence them is to succeed, shine brighter, fly higher. Remember, strength isn't always about responding. Sometimes true power is the silence that protects your peace. Rise high, not just to succeed, but to stay free, to stay calm, to stay you. Story number 12. Your wife must not be abused. At a college reunion, a man arrived accompanied by his wife. During the dinner, an old friend deliberately teased, half in jest, half in truth, telling her, "In the past, your husband used to chase after several girls in your class. So why did you end up marrying him?" The remark made the entire table burst into laughter, yet the woman's face briefly showed sorrow. Her husband set his glass down, looked directly at his friend, and spoke slowly, yet clearly. "She is my wife, and no one has the right to abuse my wife. Not even you, even if it is just a joke." The room fell silent. The man did not shout or cause a scene, but his words resonated deeply, coming from a place of firm boundaries and a love grounded in responsibility. In life, we are quick to speak up on behalf of friends, colleagues, even strangers. But we tend to remain silent when our own loved ones are hurt. We avoid confrontation, afraid of offending, forgetting that no one deserves greater protection than those who love us truly. Marriage is not only about sharing joyous moments, it is about being a steadfast support when confronted with injustice. A man of true character is not defined by his social success, but by the security he provides for his wife. And this applies to all of us. We must learn to speak out when someone is insulted, for even a joke can leave a lasting wound. Respect forms the foundation of every relationship, and boundaries protect us from those who would overstep. Your wife must not be abused. No one should ever demean her, because you are her partner, and you embody what it means to be a true, honorable man. Story number 13, Liu Ji and Zhang Zheng, a test that broke a friendship. During the Warring States period, there were two childhood friends, Liu Ji and Zhang Zheng. They grew up side by side, went everywhere together, and were seen as the perfect example of deep, loyal friendship. But one day, Liu Ji had a strange idea. He wanted to test their bond, to see if their friendship was truly unbreakable. So he came up with a plan. He pretended to borrow money, and then didn't pay it back. The first time, Zhang Zheng stayed silent. Then it happened again, and again, small amounts. But clearly it was no longer kindness. It was being taken advantage of. Eventually, Zhang Zheng made a choice. He ended the friendship. Later, when they crossed paths again, Liu Qi laughed and said, "I was just testing you. I never thought you'd abandon a friend so easily." Zhang Zheng simply shook his head. "You were wrong," he said. "Friendship is not something to test, especially not by hurting the other person. If I no longer trust you, then it's no longer friendship." After that, the two never spoke again. And over time, Liu Zhi's name faded from conversations, because no one wants to befriend someone who turns trust into a game. Though ancient, this story still speaks volumes today. There are people who create fake scenarios, pretending to be poor, pretending to be sick, pretending to be in need, just to see who truly cares. But they forget, trust, once tested and cracked, may never be whole again. Don't test others by hurting them, and never use the word friendship as an excuse to take advantage. True friends don't need tests, only honesty. Friendship doesn't need to be proven. It needs to be nurtured with kindness and consistency. Sincerity needs no defense. If doubt exists, then the friendship already doesn't. Story number 14, the 4 things you should never show off. A lesson from Journey to the West. In Journey to the West, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, is the most dazzling character, smart, skilled, and filled with magical powers. But he had one critical weakness. He loved to show off. Every time he learned a new spell, he had to put it on display. Every time he defeated a demon, he'd shout loudly, boasting of his victory. More than once, this need to be admired brought danger to the entire group. Demons, knowing how powerful he was, would call on even stronger ones to fight him. And ordinary people, envious of his talent, would slander and scheme. Eventually, Master Tang Sanzang taught him, true skill doesn't need to be flaunted. Those with real power don't need to show the world everything they have. There's an old saying, never show off 4 things: your wealth, your happiness, your plans, and your talent. Why? Because wealth invites jealousy, happiness invites scrutiny, plans, once spoken too early, can be sabotaged, and talent, when flaunted, creates pressure to constantly prove yourself. The strongest people don't need to declare their strength. They let success speak. They let results do the talking. In life, we all want to be seen, to be admired, to be recognized. But the more you talk, the more you risk losing. Not everyone celebrates your success. Not everyone is kind when you shine. So when you succeed, stay quiet. When you're happy, hold it close. When you have a plan, build it in silence. And when you're talented, use it only when needed. Don't be like the early Sun Wukong, quick to boast at the first sign of power. Be like the Sun Wukong at the end of the journey, grounded, humble, wise enough to act when needed, and silent when it matters most. Story number 15, Tang Sansang and the Robe. Showing off can invite trouble. On his journey to retrieve the sacred scriptures, Tang San Sang once received a rare and precious gift, a ceremonial monk's robe, woven with golden thread, every stitch crafted by the hands of enlightened monks. It was a sacred item, not only spiritually meaningful, but also of immense material value. He should have kept it hidden, only to be worn on the most important occasions. But Tang Senzang, overjoyed, couldn't resist. He showed the robe to the innkeeper that night. What he didn't know was that the innkeeper was a demon in disguise. The moment he saw the robe, greed filled his heart. That night, while Tang Sanzang slept, the demon set fire to the inn, planning to steal the robe, and nearly took the lives of the whole group. Only then did Tang Sanzang understand. Not everything precious should be shared openly, and not everyone deserves to see your joy. The story sounds simple, but it carries a profound lesson. In life, we all have things we treasure. It could be your success, your dreams, your inner peace, or the happiness you finally found. But remember, not everyone will celebrate it with you. Some will admire, others will envy, some will wish you well, others will wait for the chance to tear it down. Showing off doesn't make you stronger. It makes you more vulnerable. Just like Tang Senzang. Had he kept the robe to himself, the danger would never have come. A mature person knows how to protect what is sacred. They live quietly, grow silently. Not because they are afraid, but because they understand. True peace comes from within, not from applause. Learn to keep certain things for yourself, not to hide them out of fear, but to preserve their meaning and keep them safe from the greed of others. Story number 16, The Downfall of Thach Sung. When showing off destroys everything, Thach Sung was once one of the richest men of his time. From empty hands, he built a fortune. Gold, land, houses beyond count. People respected him, even feared him, but with wealth came pride, and that pride kept growing. One day, a high-ranking official visited his home. Seeing the luxury, the official made an offhand comment. "Impressive, but I doubt you have something as rare as bird's nest stewed in honey." Thach Sung heard this and couldn't stand it. He slammed his cup down and declared, "There is nothing in this world I don't have. Don't you dare look down on me." He immediately ordered servants to find that rare dish at any cost. It was winter. The mountains were harsh, but he sent men through forests and rivers, spending a fortune just to win a single sentence. From then on, Thach Sung fell into an endless spiral of comparison. If someone had something, he had to have more. If someone said something, he had to prove them wrong. His fortune faded, his reputation crumbled. Eventually, he lost everything and died alone. This story isn't meant to criticize the wealthy, but to remind us, arrogance is the seed of destruction. The truly wealthy don't need to show off. The truly strong don't need to win every argument. In life, we aren't here to prove we're better. We're here to master ourselves. There are things better kept private. There are times when letting go is the greatest strength. One petty comment, one prideful reaction can cost an entire lifetime. Thach Sung may have been the richest man, but he lacked the most valuable thing of all, humility, and the wisdom to know what is enough. If you are blessed, protect your blessings. Don't parade them. If you have wealth, let it improve your life, not become a burden of pride. Story number 17, Sun Wukong's training. Talent doesn't need to be shown off. Sun Wukong was once the top disciple of the great master, Patriarch Bodhi. He learned faster than anyone. Within just a few years, he had mastered 72 transformations, cloud somersaulting, the golden staff, and countless magical powers. Enough to shake the heavens. But the moment he finished his training, Sun Wukong left the mountain. He couldn't wait to show off. He fought demons, showed off to mortals, declared himself the great sage equal to heaven, and even dared to stir chaos in the heavens. What followed was 500 years trapped beneath the five elements mountain. Not because he lacked talent, but because he lacked humility. His master, Patriarch Bodhi, had warned him, "Don't speak my name. Don't tell anyone where you learned your powers." Because the master knew, talent without character eventually becomes a curse. And he was right. Talent is a double-edged sword. When used wisely, it lights your path. But when misused, it burns you from the inside. Those with true ability don't speak loudly. They don't need to. They let results speak. They let actions prove their worth. The ones who show off the most are often the ones still unsure inside. Because when something is missing within, we start craving applause from outside. In life, don't rush to flaunt what you've just learned. Don't feel the need to tell the world how skilled you are. Keep training. Keep growing. Quietly. So when the time comes, you won't need to announce your worth. People will see it for themselves. After 500 years under the mountain, Sun Wukong became quieter, more thoughtful. He knew when to step back, when to wait, and that's when people truly began to respect him. You don't need to shout about your value. Just keep becoming better, silently, and one day that value will speak for you and take you exactly where you deserve to be. Story number 18. King Wu of Qin and the Stone Cauldron. The Price of Pride. King Wu of Qin was a renowned ruler during the Warring States period. He was strong, disciplined, and deeply passionate about martial arts and physical strength. One day, he heard that in a distant region, there was a giant stone cauldron that no one could lift. He ordered it to be brought to the palace and placed it in the center of the royal courtyard. In front of the entire court, King Wu removed his royal robe, stepped forward, and prepared to prove his might. The ministers held their breath. Some were worried, some were curious. The king summoned all his strength, let out a fierce roar, and managed to lift the cauldron off the ground. But in the very next moment, he collapsed. Bones broken, organs ruptured. He died not long after, all because of a single moment. A moment driven by pride, the desire to prove, to show he was stronger than anyone else. Cost him his life. Though ancient, this story speaks clearly to the present day. There are many today who don't need to lift a cauldron, but still carry weights they were never meant to. The weight of pride, the burden of ego, the pressure to prove, I'm strong, I'm better, I never lose. They carry expectations on their shoulders, force themselves to appear invincible, just to meet the gaze of others. And in doing so, they get hurt, they burn out, they lose themselves. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to prove yourself in every room you enter. No one really remembers how hard you tried to hold it together. They only see the outcome. And you're the one who pays the price. Learning to let go of what's unnecessary is not weakness. It's wisdom. Living within your limits, not chasing anyone, that is true power. Don't let one fleeting moment of pride become a lifetime of regret. Story number 19, Sha Wujing. Quiet wisdom, hidden strength. In Journey to the West, Sun Wukong usually takes the spotlight. Zhuge Ji brings the humor. Tang Sanzang is the center of the story, but one character remains in the background, silent, steady, and often overlooked. Sha Wujing, also known as Sha Monk. He was once a man-eating demon, tamed by the Bodhisattva Guanyin, and sent to protect the monk on the journey to the West. From the moment he joined, Sha Wujing never fought for credit. He never raised his voice. He never questioned orders. You never saw him showing off his powers, never heard him boast. But think about it. This was a being who survived alone for 100 years in the deadly flowing sands river, battling spirits, demons, and his own loneliness. He was strong, but didn't flaunt it. He was wise, but didn't preach it. He did the work and never demanded praise. For 14 years, Sha Wujing followed the journey without complaint. No drama, no self-pity, no demands for recognition. And in the end, while others were made Buddhas, he was only granted the title of Golden Arhat. Yet he bowed, folded his hands, and smiled. No resentment, no regret. Because for him, being good, seeing the journey through, fulfilling his duty, was reward enough. Sha Wujing teaches us, the truly wise don't need to speak loudly. The truly strong don't compete for the spotlight. To be capable, but humble. To do much, but say little. That is true inner strength. In life, some people seek attention. They need applause. They crave acknowledgement, but others choose the quiet path. They work silently, not because others are watching, but because they know. Doing what's right is already enough. Doing it well brings peace. So if you're working in silence, don't worry if no one notices. It's that steady presence, that quiet strength, that will take you further than the loudest voices ever could. Be like Sha Jing. You don't need to stand out, just be there when it matters most. Story number 20, Erlang Shen versus Sun Wukong. True worth needs no recognition. In Journey to the West, when Sun Wukong rebelled against heaven, no one could stop him. He defeated every force sent his way, shattered celestial armies, and even left the Jade Emperor helpless. That's when heaven summoned Erlang Shen, a warrior god of extraordinary strength with sharp wisdom and unmatched martial skill. Together with his divine hound, he launched himself into a fierce, brutal battle with Sun Wukong. After a long and exhausting fight, it was Erlang Shen who played the biggest role in subduing the Monkey King. He brought Wukong to the heavenly court and restored order to the realm. But when the time came for rewards, the Jade Emperor said nothing of Erlang Shen. All the credit went to the Buddha, to fate, to divine destiny. People whispered. They felt bad for Erlang Shen, but he said nothing. He didn't argue. He didn't demand recognition. He simply smiled, because he understood something deeper. Doing great things doesn't require applause. True worth doesn't need a spotlight. In life, we often feel discouraged when we try hard and no one notices. When we give and no one thanks us. When we help but are forgotten. But remember, value isn't defined by praise. Contribution doesn't need credit. Time will tell. Good deeds echo, and those who deserve it will be honored, sooner or later. Just like Erlang Shen. Stay quiet. Do your work. Not for the reward, not for the recognition, but for what's right, for responsibility, for the peace of all. So if you ever feel unseen, unappreciated, don't lose heart. Keep doing what matters. Keep living with integrity. One day, without a word, you'll be the one people silently admire, without needing any introduction. Story number 21. Patriarch Bodhi. True strength needs no spotlight. Patriarch Bodhi, the great master who taught Sun Wukong everything he knew, from shape-shifting magic to cloud somersaulting to the secrets of immortality. In just a few short years, he transformed a wild monkey into a being powerful enough to shake the heavens. Where did such talent come from? From the deep, disciplined teachings of Patriarch Bodhi. And yet, in the entire journey to the West, the master appears only briefly. No grand entrances, no public recognition. No one even mentions his name again. At one point, Sun Wukong proudly claimed to be his student, but the master stopped him. "You must not speak my name," he said. "Never reveal where you learn these powers." To many it seemed cold, distant, but those who truly understand the path of wisdom know the truth. Patriarch Bodhi never sought fame. He didn't want the world to know he was the teacher behind the one who defied the heavens. He only wanted to teach the right student and live in accordance with the way, because the stronger you are, the less you need to prove, the higher you rise. The more you know when to step back, like the roots of a great tree growing deep and unseen, like water running in the depths, quiet yet full of strength. Today we live in a world obsessed with showing off. We want to tell everyone what we've done, what we know, who we helped. We want credit, recognition, applause. But sometimes, the greatest gift you can give is the one that leaves no name. The most powerful legacy is the one built in silence. You might be the one working behind the scenes, never mentioned, never praised. But you are the foundation for something great. Just like Patriarch Bodhi, silent, steady, and deeply worthy of respect. Story number 22, Leading the Cow. The art of persuasion and understanding. There was once a farmer who had a very stubborn cow. Every evening, he spent nearly an hour trying to get it into the barn. He pushed, it resisted. He pulled, it dug in its heels. He shouted, it didn't move an inch. Nothing worked. One day, the farmer invited a friend to visit. The friend said nothing. He simply picked up a handful of grass, walked around to the back of the cow, and gently held the grass in front of its nose, step by step, without force, without shouting. The cow walked itself into the barn. Amazed, the farmer asked, "Why didn't you hit it, or yell, or drag it in?" His friend smiled. "Because I knew what it wanted. Instead of forcing it to do what I wanted, I gave it a reason to follow." Simple story, powerful lesson. It's the art of persuasion, the power of understanding. In life, we often try to change people by commanding them, pressuring them, using authority. But the more we force, the more they resist. Instead of saying, "I want you to be this way," try asking, "What do you truly need?" Instead of pulling, try leading. A great leader is someone others want to follow, not someone who constantly gives orders. An effective communicator is someone who listens first, who understands why the other person is stuck, and offers a path they want to walk on. To lead others, you must first understand them. To influence people, you must first empathize. Remember, even a cow doesn't like to be pulled, let alone a human being. Story number 23. The eagle that learned to fly again. Letting go to grow, the eagle is one of the longest living birds in the wild. It can live up to 70 years. But to reach that age, it must make a very difficult decision. Around the age of 40, its talons grow dull. Its beak becomes bent. Its feathers grow thick and heavy. It can no longer hunt. It can no longer soar. It is no longer the eagle it once was. At that point, it has two choices: wait for death or choose change. A painful, lonely change. It flies to a high mountain, finds a narrow cliff, and begins a harsh transformation. Using its curved beak, it strikes it against the rock, again and again, until the beak breaks off. Then it waits for a new beak to grow. With the new beak, it tears out its old talons. Then, using the new talons, it plucks out each heavy feather. This brutal process takes over 6 months. Bloody, painful, exhausting. But when it's over, the eagle lives another 30 years, stronger, lighter, and able to fly higher than ever before. The eagle's story is a mirror of our own journey through life. There will come a time when you feel heavy, held back by old habits, outdated beliefs, toxic relationships, or past wounds. You won't be able to move forward unless you choose to let go. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. Letting go means making space for rebirth, to become lighter, to become freer, to become stronger. Don't be afraid of pain, because no transformation happens without it. Don't be afraid of being alone, because every breakthrough needs its own sacred space. So if you're standing at a crossroads right now, if you feel tired, heavy, and ready to give in, remember the eagle. You may break, but you will grow again. You may lose, but you will rise stronger, if you dare to change. Story number 24. The invisible thread, love held by quiet care. There was once a boy who lived with his father in a small house on a hill. His father was quiet, not good with words, not the kind to hug or say "I love you" or ask many questions. Many times the boy felt hurt. His father didn't seem like other dads. One day, the boy ran off to play far from home. A storm rolled in. Thunder roared. Rain poured down. It was late at night when he finally returned. And there, standing silently at the door, soaked from head to toe, was his father. He didn't say a word, just looked at the boy for a long, quiet moment, then turned and walked back inside. At dinner that night, the father said nothing. No scolding, no questions. He simply reached over, picked the best piece of fish, and gently placed it in front of his son. That night, the boy cried. Not out of fear, but because, for the first time, he truly understood. Love isn't always loud. It doesn't always come wrapped in sweet words. Sometimes love is like an invisible thread. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but it ties two hearts closer than anything else. In life, there are people who may not say, "I love you" aloud, but they're always watching over you. They make sure there's a hot meal waiting when you're late. They leave a clean shirt out before your day begins. They give you space when you fail, and open arms when you return. We live in a world that celebrates big gestures, but real love often speaks in silence. It's steady, gentle, and enduring. If you still have your parents, notice the small things: a warm bowl of rice, a quiet message when the weather changes, a forgiving look when you make mistakes. Love doesn't need to shout, it just needs to show up at the right time. And that invisible thread, that quiet connection, might just be what holds us steady in the storms of life. The giant gourd, unlocking a fixed mindset. In a small village, a farmer once grew a giant gourd, larger than any he had ever seen. He was thrilled. He wanted to bring it into the house to show it off. But when he reached the front door, the gourd wouldn't fit. He turned it sideways, tried angling it, pushed, pulled. Nothing worked. Passers-by started giving advice. Cut it into pieces. Break it and carry it in bit by bit. But the farmer hesitated. He wanted to keep it whole. Then, a small child nearby said, "Why don't you bring it in? Through the back door. The kitchen door is wider." The farmer froze. All that time struggling, he never once thought to change direction. A simple story, but one that reflects something real. In life, so many of us get stuck in our own way of thinking. We face a problem and insist on only one solution. When it fails, we don't question the method. We just try harder, pushing the same way, expecting different results. But a fixed mindset is what holds back growth. When you believe there's only one path, one way, one answer, you miss out on all the possibilities that lie just beyond your current view. A growth mindset means knowing when to pause, rethink, and shift direction. It means asking, if this isn't working, is there another way? It means stepping aside and realizing that sometimes the back door was always open. In life, if what you're doing isn't working, don't just push harder. Pause, look around. There might be a better path, just one step to the side. And that giant gourd you've been struggling with might just roll in smoothly when you try a different door. Story number 26, Embracing the Hard. Two monks in the lesson of growth. High up in the mountains, two monks lived together in a quiet temple. One was older, wise and calm. The other was young, still learning. Every day, the younger monk had to walk down the mountain to fetch water. The path was steep and winding. Carrying water was heavy, tiring work. On rainy days, it was slippery and dangerous. One day, frustrated and exhausted, the young monk complained to his master, "This is too hard. There has to be an easier way." The old monk smiled and gently nodded. "Very well," he said. "From tomorrow, you won't have to fetch water anymore. We'll go somewhere new." The next morning, they packed up and hiked even higher, to a remote, empty mountain. No people, no rivers, no nearby streams, just silence and sky. The old monk turned to his student and said, "From now on, we'll live here. As for water, you'll have to figure it out." Panicked, the young monk scrambled down the mountain to find a spring. From then on, he walked even farther, climbed even higher, and carried every single drop back to their new home. Days passed, weeks turned into months, and slowly he stopped complaining. His body grew stronger, his mind became steadier, and most of all, he no longer saw water carrying as a burden. One day the old monk asked, "How do you feel now?" The young monk replied, "I'm okay. I'm used to it. It doesn't feel so hard anymore." The old monk smiled. Sometimes a task doesn't become easier. You become stronger. Pain isn't always in the work itself, but in your attitude. When you see it as suffering, even light work feels heavy. But when you see it as part of your practice, even hard work becomes meaningful. In life, we often want ease. We wish for comfort. We hope the road will be smooth. But growth doesn't come from the easy. It comes from choosing the hard and showing up anyway. What feels hard today becomes your new normal tomorrow. If you keep going, if you want to go farther than others, you must learn to walk the path they avoid. You must carry water daily so that one day you'll know the true value of every drop you've earned. Story number 27. Solitude is strength, learning to stand alone. A young man once came to a Zen master. He asked, "Master, why do I always feel lonely? I don't have many friends. No one really understands me. I feel out of place, even when I'm surrounded by people." The master looked at him for a while, then said, "When you are still a seed, You are buried in the soil, alone, in the dark, in the cold. No one sees you. No one speaks to you. No one knows you're there. But it's in that very moment you begin to sprout, quietly, silently, growing from within. Only by enduring that solitude can you one day rise as a great tree. The young man fell silent. We often fear loneliness, thinking it means failure, rejection, or a lack of love. But in truth, solitude can be a gift. It is the space where we return to ourselves, where the noise of the world fades and we no longer live by others' expectations. In those quiet moments, you discover what you truly need, what you're missing, and who you really are. Maturity is not about always having someone by your side. It's about being whole, even when you're alone. Solitude doesn't break you. Running from it does. So learn to sit with yourself. No phone, no social media, no conversations. Just you and your breath. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, but over time, you'll realize the best companion you could ever have has been there all along. It's you. True strength doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from within, when you can stand alone and still stand strong. Story number 28. Two young monks. A lesson in perspective. There were two young monks living in a small temple at the foot of a mountain. Every day they would carry water from the stream back to the temple. Same path, same steep slope, same two old wooden buckets. In the beginning, they were equally diligent, 2 trips a day side by side. But after a few months, one monk started feeling tired. He sighed, "This again? Every single day? When will this end?" The other monk, however, continued cheerfully, still carrying water, still humming softly along the way. One day the first monk couldn't take it anymore. He decided to leave, to find a place where life would be easier. Before he left, he asked his friend, "Why don't you ever get bored? Aren't you tired of doing the same thing every day?" The second monk smiled. "I'm not just carrying water. I'm training my legs. I'm strengthening my mind. Every step I take is a step against my own laziness. That's why it's worth it." Years passed. The monk who left continued to wander. Unsettled, still searching, the one who stayed became the abbot of a great temple. Calm, grounded, respected by many. Same path, same work. But a different way of thinking led to a completely different life. In this world, not every task is glamorous. Not every effort shows instant results. But if you see every small action as a chance to train your discipline, you grow a little more every single day. People feel tired when they don't see meaning. But those who feel fulfilled are the ones who know they're heading in the right direction. Carrying water can feel like a burden, or it can become the path to greatness. It all depends on how you see it and how you choose to walk it. Story number 29. The 3 doors of life. True change starts within. There was once a young man who always felt unlucky in life. At work, his boss constantly yelled at him. At home, his parents complained nonstop. With friends, he felt misunderstood. It was as if the whole world had turned its back on him. One day he went to seek advice from a Zen master. The master led him to an old house and said, "Inside you will find 3 doors. Read the message written on each one." The young man stepped inside. The first door said, "Change your circumstances." He nodded quickly. Yes. If only his boss were kinder, his parents more understanding, his friends more empathetic, then he would be happy. He opened the second door. It said, "If you can't change your circumstances, change your perspective." He paused and started to reflect. Maybe his boss wasn't angry at him, but just overwhelmed with pressure. Maybe his parents weren't nagging. They were worried. Maybe his friends didn't ignore him. They were just dealing with their own struggles. He moved on to the third and final door. It read, "Changing yourself is the root of all change." Just one line. But it struck him deeply. We often want the world to change, but forget that the world is merely a mirror of our own inner state. When we change how we think, the world looks different. When we change our habits, life begins to feel lighter. When we change our attitude, people respond differently. Not everyone is bad. Not every situation is hopeless. Sometimes we just haven't looked deeply enough to understand, or stood still long enough to adapt. If you're going through a hard time, don't just look outward. Look within. Changing yourself isn't easy, but it's the one thing you truly have control over. And most importantly, it's where all lasting change begins. If you want to change your life, start with yourself. Story number 30, Zhang Zia. Late but legendary. Zhang Zia is remembered as one of the greatest strategists in Chinese history, but few people know his glory only began when he was already 70 years old. For most of his youth, he had no title, no fame, no recognition. People called him a dreamer, a nobody. He took the imperial exams and failed again and again. He traveled to many cities, seeking a place to serve, but was turned away every time. He lived in poverty. Day after day, he sat quietly by the Wei River, fishing, but without bait. People laughed. "Who fishes without bait?" they scoffed. "He must be mad." But Zhang Zia sat still, patient, waiting for the right person and the right time. And one day that time came. King Wen of Zhou saw him and saw what others had missed. He invited Zhang Zia to serve his kingdom. And in just a few years, this once overlooked old man led the campaign that overthrew the tyrant King Zhou and helped build the powerful Zhou dynasty. A reign that lasted centuries. His name entered history. People called him Grand Duke Zhang. Was he late? Number. He arrived exactly when the world needed him. And more importantly, he was ready. Life isn't a race to see who gets there first. It's a journey to see who stays strong enough to reach the end. Some people fade out by 18. Others bloom at 40 or 70. Don't compare your pace to others. Everyone walks their own timeline. So if you feel slow, stuck, or behind, don't give up. Keep preparing. Keep learning. Keep believing. Because maybe you are the Zhang Zia of this generation. Not early, but legendary. Story number 31. Fishing with a straight hook. The wisdom behind foolishness. Long ago, there was an old man who lived quietly by the river. Every day he would go fishing. But there was something strange. He used a straight fishing hook. No bait, no curve at the end, just a plain, straight hook. People walking by would stop and laugh. "That man will never catch anything," they'd say. Some felt sorry for him. One person even offered him a proper hook. But the old man smiled and said, "I don't want the small fish. I'm waiting for something greater." Years passed. One day, the king of a neighboring kingdom lost his prized horse. He heard rumors of a strange old man who fished with a straight hook. No ordinary person would do that, the king thought. Perhaps this man is different. So he sent for him. And indeed, the old fisherman was no fool. He was a wise hermit, a brilliant mind who had long avoided fame and power. But when he saw the king's sincerity, he agreed to serve. In time, he helped the kingdom overcome its greatest crisis, and his name was remembered for generations. People still speak of the story, not just because of the unusual hook, but because of the way he lived. In life, there may be times when others call you foolish because you don't compete, you don't rush, you don't chase after quick wins. But sometimes that very foolishness is the mark of someone with vision. Those with depth don't need to win every small game. They wait, they endure, they hold on to their principles, and when the right moment comes, they act. You don't need to look clever in the eyes of the world. What matters is knowing what you're waiting for and staying true to what you believe. A straight hook may not catch fish today, but it catches something far more powerful: respect that lasts. Story number 32, 3 parts foolish, 7 parts mad. The formula of unusual success. There was once a young man who made and sold handmade crafts: wooden spoons, canvas bags, bamboo combs. They weren't fancy, not trendy, not the kind of things people rush to buy. People laughed at him. "You're foolish," they said. "No one wants that stuff anymore." But he just smiled. Day after day, he kept crafting, piece by piece, by hand, then walked to the morning market and set up his little stall. Years passed. One day, a traditional handmade goods brand suddenly went viral. It was his. Newspapers called him a visionary, a preserver of culture, a symbol of creative spirit. But when he was interviewed, he simply said, "I'm not smart. I just have 3 parts foolishness and 7 parts obsession." 3 parts foolish meant holding on to what he believed, even when everyone else said it was wrong, even when no one understood. 7 parts obsession meant pouring his heart into it, so much that people thought he was crazy. It meant trusting his own path, even if it was rocky, unfamiliar, and never walked before. In life, success isn't just for the smartest. It's for the stubborn, the daring, the ones who keep going. Some people analyze with logic, some people feel with instinct, and some choose the road everyone else avoids. And by doing so, they create something no one else has ever seen. So if you're doing something people don't yet understand, don't stop. You're not crazy. You might just be ahead of your time. 3 parts foolish so you don't give up. 7 parts mad so you dare to go all the way. You don't need to be the best. You just need to be the one who doesn't stop when everyone else already has. Story number 33, speak less, live better. Words are a double-edged sword. There was once a wealthy merchant who was falsely accused. The royal court confiscated all his property, seized his land, and imprisoned his entire family. Years passed. Eventually, the truth came out. He was proven innocent, completely. His assets were returned, his name restored, his family freed. At the celebration banquet, friends and acquaintances came in large numbers. They toasted him, praised his good fortune, said justice had finally prevailed. The merchant smiled, but said nothing. At the end of the night, a close confidant pulled him aside. "Why didn't you speak?" he asked. "This was your chance to clear your name in front of everyone, to finally get even." The merchant shook his head. "A single sentence may satisfy my anger," he said, "but silence keeps my family safe. My reputation is back. The truth is known. What good is there in reopening old wounds?" His friend fell quiet and nodded in understanding. In life, there are many times we want to speak. We want to explain, defend ourselves, win every argument. But the wiser we grow, the more we learn. Not everything needs to be said, and not every truth needs to be spoken aloud. Words are a double-edged sword. They can free, but they can also cut. They can heal or destroy. Once spoken, a word can never be taken back. A careless sentence can leave scars that last a lifetime. A wise person is not the one who talks the most, but the one who knows when to stay silent. Holding your tongue doesn't mean weakness. It means keeping peace, preserving dignity, protecting both yourself and others. Learn to speak at the right time, and learn not to speak when silence is wiser. You'll find your heart will feel lighter, your life more peaceful, and your relationships much stronger. Story number 34. One misstep. A mistake doesn't define you. There was once a man who had made a mistake in his past. Out of anger, out of impulse, he struck someone and was sent to prison for several years. When he was released, he lived quietly. He accepted small jobs, never complained, never made excuses. But the world wasn't quick to forget. Even though he had changed, even though he now lived with kindness, people still called him by the name tied to his past. The man who went to prison. One day, a neighbor's child fell into the river. Everyone panicked. No one moved fast enough, except him. He jumped in. Without hesitation, he pulled the boy to shore, alive. The whole village gathered. Everyone was moved. Someone asked him, "Weren't you afraid?" "Of what people might say if something had gone wrong," he replied. "I made mistakes before, but that doesn't mean I'll make them forever. I didn't save him to prove anything. I saved him because I couldn't just stand there." From that day forward, they no longer called him the man who went to prison. They called him the man who saved a life. That story reminds us, a mistake does not define a person. What they do after it does. Anyone can fall. What matters is the courage to stand up, the strength to make things right, and the integrity to never go back. Don't lock someone into a box because of one wrong choice, and don't lock yourself up because of one moment of weakness. You are not your past. You are the choices you make from this moment on. If you've done wrong, live right. If you've fallen, get up and keep walking. Because the road ahead is always open for those who truly want to move forward. Story number 35, pouring into a full cup. When the mind is full, wisdom cannot enter. A well-known scholar once came to a Zen master asking to learn the way. He spoke nonstop about what he had read, what he had studied, what he had experienced. His words flowed endlessly. The Zen master said nothing. He simply poured tea into the scholar's cup. The cup was full, yet he kept pouring. The tea spilled over, flowing across the table, soaking the scholar's sleeve. Startled, the scholar cried out, "Master, the cup is overflowing." The Zen master looked at him and said gently, "A full cup cannot hold more tea, and a mind full of itself cannot hold wisdom." The scholar fell silent. For the first time he understood. To truly learn, one must first forget. To go deeper, one must first be empty. This simple story holds the foundation of true growth. In life, many people know much, learn constantly, but still never change. They do not grow because their minds are too full, full of knowledge, but not listening, full of experience, but lacking humility. The wiser you are, the more you must learn to become like an empty cup. Not because you know nothing, but because you leave space for something new, for others, for deeper insight. Emptying yourself doesn't mean erasing who you are. It means letting go of ego, of judgment, of pride. When you learn to be still, you begin to truly hear. When you learn to step back, you move further ahead. Like the cup, only when empty can it receive cool, fresh tea. Only when still can it hold what is pure. Story number 36. Where you fall is where you learn. Lessons from the same stone. A young man was walking down a familiar village path. Suddenly, he tripped over a small stone and fell hard. He got up, brushed off his clothes, and grumbled, "Who left this rock in the middle of the road?" The next day, he walked the same path again. And again, he tripped. Same stone. This time, he got angry. He kicked the rock far away, cursed under his breath, and kept walking. On the third day, he passed that same spot. The stone was gone, but he still fell. Why? Because now there was a small hole left by where he had kicked the rock. As he lay there, an old man walking by smiled gently and said, "You fell where the stone was, and now you fall where the stone used to be. If you want to stop falling, don't just blame the stone. Learn to look at your own feet and walk more mindfully." That short moment holds a deep truth about how we live. In life, we stumble, we fail, we make mistakes. And our first reaction is often to blame. Blame someone else. Blame the situation. Blame bad luck. But rarely do we pause and ask, where was I not paying attention? What lesson have I not learned yet? So we keep falling. In the same place for different reasons, but from the same unresolved mistake. A wise person is not someone who never falls, but someone who falls once and learns enough to walk steady for a lifetime. So ask yourself, what made you fall last time? Was it impatience, ego, laziness, trusting the wrong person, lack of skill? These are the stones beneath your feet. Don't just kick them away. Bend down, pick them up, and turn them into lessons. Because the place that made you fall can be the place that teaches you how to stand strong if you're willing to learn. Story number 37. The hammer. Don't let imagination replace reality. A man was fixing up his house when he suddenly lost his hammer. He searched everywhere, but couldn't find it. Then a thought crossed his mind. Maybe the neighbor borrowed it and didn't return it. He remembered the neighbor looking a bit strange the day before. Kinda shifty, suspicious. He walked past the house more than usual lately. The more the man thought about it, the angrier he became. Every vague memory felt like more proof. He convinced himself it must be him. The next day he went over, ready to confront his neighbor. But just as he stepped outside, he saw the hammer. It was lying under a pile of bricks in his own backyard. He froze, embarrassed. Not because he lost the hammer, but because he almost lost a relationship over something he imagined. This story is short, but it happens all the time. We create stories in our heads and then treat them like fact. A strange look, an unclear gesture, a silence we don't understand. And we start assuming, building theories, feeling hurt, getting angry. Reality might be simple, but our minds make it complicated. Before they say anything, we misunderstand. Before we ask, we blame. Before we check, we explode. The more sensitive you are, the more you must learn to slow down. The more easily hurt, the more you must steady your mind. Before blaming others, check if the hammer is still in your own backyard. Maybe it was never taken, just forgotten, in some quiet corner of your thoughts. Story number 38. Why the poor often buy lottery tickets. Hope, illusion, and a shift in mindset. In a small city, there was a lottery shop that was always crowded. Most of the buyers were poor laborers. The shop owner said, "There are people who come every single day. They never win, but they still buy. It's no longer just a habit, it's hope." One man, a construction worker from nearby, bought one ticket every day. One time a friend asked him, "Why don't you save that money for food? Do you really think you'll ever win?" The man replied, "Food fills my stomach, but the ticket feeds my hope. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow everything will change." His answer made people pause, not because of the lottery, but because of the hunger for a better life when all doors seem closed. But it raises a deeper question. Why don't people like him invest in learning a new skill, build connections, save bit by bit? Why place all hope in a 1 in a million chance? The answer is simple. Belief, but it's belief placed in the wrong thing. People who feel powerless often turn to luck. They don't believe they can change their lives with their own hands, so they wish for a miracle instead. Meanwhile, the wealthy place their faith in themselves, in knowledge, in what they can control. One side dreams, the other strategizes. Lottery tickets aren't bad, and hope isn't wrong. But if all your hope is pinned on chance, you may miss the real opportunities that can create real change. Instead of waiting to win the jackpot, learn to change your thinking. Instead of hoping for wealth from a lucky number, start building it from the small coins you earn and save today. Success doesn't come from magic. It comes from practical steps, taken every single day. Story number 39, building on sand, why foundation matters more than achievement. Two men began building houses at the same time. One chose a flat piece of land, near the beach, easy to build on, beautiful view, cool breeze. The other picked higher ground, rockier, harder to work with. His build would take longer, cost more effort. The first man finished quickly, in just a few weeks. People passed by and admired it. What a beautiful house. Ocean view. Perfect. The second man was still working, slowly, quietly. No one paid attention. Then one day a storm came. Winds howled, waves crashed. The house on the sand was swept away overnight, but the house on the rock stood strong. Only then did people understand. Not every beautiful house is built to last, and not every early success is worth celebrating. This story is like our journey through life. Some people rise quickly, they learn fast, earn a lot, get noticed, but inside they lack foundation. They don't know how to manage emotions, they lack integrity, they don't have mental endurance. One crisis, and everything collapses. Others move slowly, quietly, but each step is built on something solid. Each action has depth. They take longer, but go farther. Building a life isn't about finishing first. It's about digging deep. The more rushed, the more fragile. So ask yourself, am I building on sand or laying stones beneath the surface? Don't just admire other people's rooftops. Look at your own foundation, because when storms come, it's not your reputation or your wealth that keeps you standing, it's what's inside you. Steady, strong, and real. Story number 40, 3 years of firewood burned in 1 hour, when anger destroys everything. There was once a man who went into the forest every single day to chop wood. He was diligent, patient, and never missed a day. For 3 years, he gathered each bundle, dried it, stacked it neatly behind his house. Neighbors admired him. They praised his work ethic. His wife helped take care of the pile. To her, it wasn't just wood. It was the symbol of their family's effort. One day, the man came home late, tired, stressed. He saw that his wife had accidentally spilled water on a small section of the firewood. Without thinking, he exploded. He shouted, he raged. Then, blinded by fury, he grabbed a torch and burned the entire pile. The fire roared. In less than an hour, 3 years of work was gone. When he came to his senses, he held his head in regret. But it was too late. People often say, 3 years to gather firewood, 1 hour to burn it all. It's not just about saving resources, it's a warning. About losing control of your emotions. In life, there are things we spend years building. Trust, love, reputation, career. But one moment of anger, one careless word, one rash decision can destroy it all. One sentence can break a bond. One action can ruin your name. One outburst can burn down your future. A wise person is not someone who never gets angry, but someone who knows when to stop. Someone who can hold back for 1 minute to protect 10 years of effort. Remember, the bigger the success, the stronger your self-control must be. The more you've built, the more you must protect it. With calm. Don't let 1 hour of heat burn 3 years of hard work. Story number 41. The man who cut down the tree that gave him shade. A lesson on ingratitude and self-destruction. There was a man who lived beside a large tree. Every day he would sit under its shade, reading, drinking tea, escaping the heat. Travelers passing by would also rest beneath it. Everyone thanked him for preserving such a wonderful tree. But one summer, the heat grew intense. The man started to feel irritated. Leaves were falling everywhere. Branches stretched too close to his roof. Birds sang too early in the morning, waking him up. Frustrated, he decided to cut the tree down. His neighbors tried to stop him, but he refused. I planted this tree for comfort. Now it annoys me. I have the right to remove it. So he chopped it down. The sun poured into his yard. The ground became scorching hot. No one stopped by anymore. Even he no longer had a place to sit and cool off. That's when he realized what once was a blessing he destroyed because of a few moments of inconvenience. And in doing so, he lost everything good that had come with it. This story isn't just about a tree. It's about all of us. Someone helps us, guides us, supports us. But the moment they do something we don't like, we forget everything. We turn away. Sometimes even hurt the very person who once lifted us up. Ingratitude doesn't just hurt others. It cuts down the very roots that help us grow. Gratitude isn't just words. It's perspective. It's choosing to value what's been good to us, even if it's not perfect. Learn to appreciate what once sheltered your life, even if sometimes it drops a few leaves. Story number 42, The Freed Monkey. When freedom means nothing without direction. There was once a monkey locked in a cage for many years. Each day it was fed, given water, but no one cared what it thought or how it felt. Then one day a kind soul opened the cage. You're free now, he said. Go. Live like a real monkey. In the wild. The monkey stepped out. For the first time it saw the open sky. Endless trees, no bars, no rules, no orders. It ran everywhere. Climbed up, jumped down, from tree to tree. Free. But not long after it panicked. It didn't know where to go. Didn't know how to find food. Didn't know what to do or where it belonged. In the end, it returned to the same old cage. Sat down in the corner it knew, and quietly closed the door. Strange, isn't it? But this is the reality for many people. We say we want freedom. Freedom from pressure, from schedules, from rules, from control. We dream of quitting the job, breaking the mold, living life on our own terms. But when we finally get it, that freedom, we freeze. No more orders, no more structure, and we feel lost. Because freedom is not just being uncaged. It's knowing where to go when the gate opens. Without purpose, without self-discipline, without direction, freedom becomes a burden, even a form of destruction. True freedom isn't the absence of limits. It's the ability to set your own, to know who you are, what you want, and how you choose to live. Every day, freedom doesn't lie in leaving the cage. It lies in knowing where to walk once the door opens. Story number 43. The jar of rice you must let go to take what you truly need. In a quiet countryside, people had a clever way to catch monkeys. They'd fill an old jar with rice, one with a narrow neck, then place it deep in the forest and wait. Soon a monkey would catch the scent, creep closer, stick its hand into the jar, grab a fistful of rice. But when it tried to pull its hand out, it couldn't. The fist was too big for the jar's narrow opening. It panicked, pulled harder, got stuck. All it had to do was let go of the rice, just open its hand, and it could be free, but it wouldn't. It wanted the rice too badly, and so it was easily caught. This sounds like a child's story, but it's not. It happens every single day, to adults, to us. We feel trapped, not because the world is too small, but because our hands are clinging to too much. We hold on to toxic relationships, unfulfilling jobs, outdated dreams, old pain, pride. Then we wonder why we can't move forward, why we feel stuck, why life feels tight and heavy. It's simple. We don't want to let go. Like the monkey, we want to grab without releasing. We want something new without letting go of the old. We want to move forward, but stay the same. But here's the truth. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is clearing space for what truly belongs to you. It's setting yourself free from what no longer serves you. So if your hand is caught in some jar of life, pause, breathe, try loosening your grip, because freedom might just be one letting go away. Story number 44. The bamboo, the more hollow, inside the higher it grows. Among all the plants, bamboo is quite unique. It's slender, tall, flexible, and most interestingly, it's completely hollow on the inside. Unlike sturdy trees with solid trunks, bamboo doesn't need to be full to stand strong. Because of its emptiness, it bends with the wind. It doesn't break when storms come. In fact, the stronger the storm, the more it bends. But once the storm passes, it rises back even stronger. The old masters saw bamboo as a reflection of a noble person. The more they learn, the more humble they become. The deeper their wisdom, the softer their voice. Those who are truly wise don't need to prove anything. They don't need to fill themselves with noise or pride. Instead, they keep their minds empty, so they can keep learning, so they can understand, so they can receive. This emptiness is not weakness. It's a calm, clear space, free from stubbornness, free from ego, free from judgment. Like bamboo, they're not strong despite being hollow, but strong because they are. And what about us? Some people, the moment they know a little, they act like they know it all. Their minds become full of opinions, of self-importance, of noise, so full that there's no room left to take in something new. Meanwhile, those who are truly wise keep their hearts open. They listen, they learn, they bow, so they can rise higher. Life is always changing. Those who are rigid break, but those who stay flexible, they endure. Bamboo teaches us to go far, keep your inner world light, to last long, stay humble, and to rise high, start from being hollow. Story number 45, The Man Pulling Stones. The real weight is what you refuse to let go. There was once a man walking through a mountain pass. Behind him, he pulled a cart full of heavy stones. It was slow, painful, every step a struggle. An old man by the roadside asked, "What are you dragging?" The man replied, "These are my sorrows, my anger, my regrets. I can't leave them behind. They're a part of my life." The old man stayed silent, then pointed to a large stone in the cart. "What about this one?" "That's the betrayal I went through," said the man. "And that one?" "My biggest mistake," he sighed. The old man looked at him gently. "And where are you trying to go?" "To a place of peace." the man said. Somewhere light, free, calm. The old man smiled. Then why not let go of some of these stones? The man stood still. For the first time he realized it wasn't the road that was exhausting. It was the cart he kept piling higher each day. We're the same. We carry far too much. An old insult, a bitter memory, a person who's long gone, a moment that's already passed. And then we wonder why we're so tired, why we can't move forward. It's not because we're weak, it's because we're dragging too many stones. Stones of regret, of resentment, of things we can no longer change. If you want to feel lighter, you have to let go. If you want to go further, you must clear your load. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing not to carry it anymore. So you have space for something new, for light, for peace, for yourself. Stop. Look at the cart you're pulling and ask, which stone have I been dragging far too long without even realizing it? Story number 46, the cup and the orange juice. Kindness doesn't mean letting people overflow you. One day, a teacher walked into the classroom holding a glass filled to the brim with orange juice. He looked at the students and asked, if I hold this glass for 1 minute, will my hand hurt? The class replied, no, it's too light. What if I hold it for an hour? A student answered, your hand might start to go numb. And if I hold it all day? Another said, your arm would cramp up. It would feel exhausted. The teacher nodded. This glass of juice isn't heavy, but if I hold it too long, without switching hands, without setting it down, it will wear me out. Then he placed the glass on the table and looked around the room. In life, being kind is good, but if someone keeps pouring into you, requests, pressure, expectations, and you never put the glass down, you'll become so tired that you forget who you are. We're taught to help others, to give, to be kind, but we're rarely taught that we're also allowed to say, that's enough. You have limits. Kindness is not unlimited self-sacrifice. Your cup, your kindness, can be shared. You can offer someone a sip. But if someone keeps pouring more and more until it overflows, and you still try to hold it, you're the one who ends up hurt. Learning to put the cup down is not selfish. It's self-respect. Be kind, but not a doormat. Be generous, but not self-erasing. You can't pour into others if your cup is already empty. Story number 47. When the road is blocked, you see who's really close. Adversity reveals true relationships. One rainy afternoon, a massive storm hit the city. Flooded streets, traffic frozen in place. Nothing moved. People stood in the rain, trying to call for help, asking to be picked up, asking someone to wait, asking anyone to come. Some called friends. Some called their partner. Some called co-workers, even people they used to be close with. But most replies were the same. Sorry, I'm stuck too. I'm busy. Or just silence. No one picked up, except for one person. No long conversations, no questions. Just showed up. With a raincoat in hand, opened the trunk, and simply said, hop in, let's go home. After the storm, that person said nothing more. Didn't expect thanks. Didn't expect anything at all. But to the one stuck in the chaos, that moment meant everything. It was the warmth that cut through the cold. It was the moment that ended all shallow relationships and started something real. This story may seem simple, but it's a truth we all face. Only in hardship do you find out who's really there. Only when life is gridlocked do you see who truly lives near your heart. Some people are loud in good times, gone when things go wrong. Others don't make promises, but always show up. So don't be sad if hard times leave you standing alone. Be grateful, because now you see clearly. True relationships aren't measured by noise, but by presence, by the ones who show up without being asked, by the ones who feel your pain without you having to speak. Hold on to those people. They are rare, and they're worth more than 100 who only ever said they cared. Story number 48, 2 seeds. What grows depends on how you respond. In a quiet little garden, 2 seeds were planted at the same time. Same soil, same sunlight, same care. The first seed felt the damp, dark soil and smiled. This is just the beginning, it thought. It may be dark now, but something good is coming. I will grow. I will become a tree. I will rise toward the sun. The second seed felt the same darkness, but saw punishment. Why am I buried? It complained. Why must I be stuck here, hidden, cut off from the light? Surely nothing good can come from this. Days passed. The first seed sprouted. It broke through the soil, welcomed the sunlight, and grew into a strong little sapling. The second seed refused to grow. It focused on the darkness, rejected the water, rejected the soil. Eventually, it rotted and disappeared. Two seeds, same conditions, very different fates, because of one thing, how they responded. In life, you cannot always control the environment. You cannot stop hardship. You cannot always choose where you are planted, but you can choose to grow or to give up. You can choose to let the darkness become your foundation or your grave. The world doesn't reward those who avoid being buried. It celebrates those who rise from it. So the next time life covers you in something difficult, ask yourself, which seed am I? And more importantly, what do I want to grow into? Story number 49, the charcoal seller and the hidden gem. Don't judge by appearance. Once upon a time, there was a man who made a living selling charcoal. Every day he pushed a simple wooden cart. His clothes were dirty, his face always covered in soot, as he went from village to village selling small bags of coal. People avoided him when he passed. Some whispered insults. Some shook their heads and said, "If you're poor, at least do something cleaner than this." One day his cart tipped over in the middle of the road. Charcoal spilled everywhere. Black dust coated the ground. People scoffed even more. As he gathered the scattered coal, he noticed something glimmering beneath the black dust. A gemstone, large, clear, shimmering with rare violet hues. It was a priceless gem that he had unknowingly carried up from the depths of the mine. Suddenly, the crowd swarmed around him. The same people who looked down on him now asked for photos, showered him with compliments, and praised his luck. But the man said nothing. He quietly placed the gem into his pocket and continued picking up his coal. A friend nearby asked, "Why don't you say anything? Aren't you angry at how they treated you before?" He replied, "I was never angry, because they had no idea what I was carrying inside me." That story, a simple tale, but a powerful reminder. Never judge someone by appearance, and never assume silence means emptiness. In life, people will size you up by how you dress, what job you do, or how much money you have. But don't let that shake you. Don't waste energy trying to prove your worth. Just keep refining your gift. Keep nurturing your dream. Keep becoming better. Because one day, like the hidden gem beneath the coal dust, your value will shine on its own. Not because you shouted it, but because it couldn't stay hidden any longer. Story number 50, Two Doors, Reaction or Choice. There was an ancient temple, famous for having two large doors. One door read, Reaction, the other, Choice. Pilgrims passed by, curious, but most pushed open the door labeled Reaction. Because it was easy, it opened instantly. Inside, the path was short, simple, easy to follow, but it wound in circles, leading people back to where they started. Few paused before the door marked Choice. That door was heavy, hard to open. No one cheered if you tried. No one encouraged you to keep pushing. But once you stepped through, the path inside was long, solid. It led to a wide open square, full of sunlight, fresh air, and a sense of true freedom. The temple keeper once said, "The door of reaction represents the hurried life, where we react to everything, get angry quickly, blame easily, laugh without thinking, quit when we're sad. The door of choice is for those who stop to reflect, who choose to respond instead of react, choose calm over rage, understanding over judgment, action over complaints. In life, you can't control everything, but you can always control how you respond. You get angry, that's a reaction. You pause to reflect, that's a choice. You complain about fate, that's a reaction. You get back up and move forward. That's a choice. Every day, life places these two doors in front of you. Whichever one you open will shape the direction of your life. Story number 51, The Flower Pot and the Cactus. Misplaced expectations, misjudged nature. There once was a woman who loved beauty. She planted every kind of flower around her house. Roses, orchids, daisies. You name it, she had it. One day, she received a cactus as a gift. Seeing its thorns and rough appearance, she reluctantly placed it in a fancy porcelain pot, tucked it away in a shady corner, rarely watered it, thinking, this plant doesn't need much care anyway. Months passed. The cactus didn't grow. Its leaves withered. Its body turned soft. She frowned. See? Ugly things have no real value. One day a gardener came to visit. He noticed the struggling cactus. He said gently, this plant needs intense sunlight and dry soil. It's not like your other flowers. If you treat it like one, of course it won't thrive. The woman froze. For the first time she realized the problem wasn't the plant. It was her expectations. She planted it like a flower, then blamed it for not blooming like one. So she moved it, put it in the sun, cut back on watering. Slowly the cactus grew stronger, and one day it bloomed, a brilliant red flower, fierce and proud among the thorns. It seemed like a story about gardening, but it's really about how we treat people. We often place expectations on others, wanting everyone to be gentle like orchids or fragrant like roses. But some people are cacti. They're not soft, not easily open, but if placed in the right environment, they too can bloom in their own extraordinary way. Don't judge others by your standards, and don't force anyone to live the way you want them to. True love is understanding someone's nature, not shaping them into someone else, but helping them become the best version of themselves. Everyone is a different kind of plant. Our job is to find the right soil, the right sunlight, and enough patience to wait for their bloom. Story number 52, The Boat and the Anchor. Let go to set sail. There was a boat that lay still at the dock for many years. Its hull was solidly built. The sails were tightly sewn. Everything was ready for a long journey. Everything except for one thing. The anchor was still tied tightly to a stone post. No matter how hard the wind blew or the waves pushed, the boat couldn't leave the dock. Every time it was ready to set sail, the owner hesitated. The sea is vast. Is my boat strong enough? The waves are rough. Am I steady enough at the helm? Better wait a little longer, he thought. Year after year passed. Dust settled on the boat. The sails turned moldy. The wood began to rot. And in the end, it never once touched the ocean, all because of one anchor no one dared to cut. This isn't just the story of a boat. It's the story of many people in life. We all dream of setting sail. We want to go further. We want to live a life of purpose. But we are held back by invisible ropes. It might be the fear of failure, past mistakes, the judgment of others, or the comfort of a safe routine we're afraid to leave. So we stay still. We wait until we feel confident, until we stop being afraid, until we're perfect. But life doesn't wait, and we miss the voyage that was meant for us. To begin a new journey, you have to let go of what's keeping you anchored. No one can set sail while still tied to shore. No one can grow without crossing unfamiliar waters. Success doesn't come from waiting for the right moment. It comes from the courage to cut the rope and steer your own course. Take a moment. Look inside. Are you also a boat lying still because of a single knot? If so, then today is the day you deserve to drift toward the dreams waiting beyond the horizon. Story number 53, A Full Bowl and the Final Drop. Someone once asked a Zen master, why do some people who were once so close suddenly drift apart? Why do relationships that seem solid suddenly fall apart? Why do people we help so much turn their backs on us for no reason? The Zen master didn't answer right away. He picked up a bowl and filled it with water, all the way to the brim. Then he added one drop, then another, until the 10th drop caused the water to overflow. He said, people don't walk away because of one single event. Just like this bowl didn't overflow from one final drop, it overflowed because of all the quiet drops that came before. In any relationship, each time someone is dismissed, each time they are hurt, each effort that goes unnoticed is a drop quietly added to the bowl. They stay, they say nothing, but their heart fills little by little. Then one day it takes only something small, a careless word, a cold gesture, a forgotten moment, and the final drop falls. The bowl overflows. The relationship breaks. That's when the one who caused the pain is surprised. They ask why things changed. They wonder why they didn't get another chance, but they don't realize. It wasn't about the last moment, it was about the long silence before it, like a bowl of water. You cannot blame the overflow on a single drop. Remember, when someone is silent, it doesn't mean they are not hurting. When they stay, it doesn't mean they'll stay forever. Don't wait until they're gone. To notice the final drop, learn to listen, to appreciate, to make things right, while there is still room left in the bowl. Story number 54, the snake's shadow and the bitter wine. Once upon a time, a general was invited to a banquet at a close friend's house. During the meal, the host poured him a glass of fine wine. As the general lifted the glass, he suddenly saw the shadow of a snake inside. He froze for a moment, but out of politeness, he drank it all. From that day on, he began experiencing headaches, nausea, insomnia. His body weakened. His mind grew restless. No physician could cure him. Hearing the news, his friend invited him back. This time he was seated in the same spot. Again, the wine was poured. Again, he saw the snake's shadow. Just as he began to panic, the host smiled and gently said, "Please, look up." The general looked to the ceiling. There, hanging as decoration, was a wooden bow. Sunlight shone through it, casting a twisting shadow that looked just like a snake falling directly into the wineglass. Realizing it had only been an illusion, the general laughed out loud, and from the very next day, all his symptoms disappeared. He was completely well again. That story has long been remembered, because fear does not always come from what is real. It often comes from what the mind imagines. Some people fear starting because they think they'll fail, though they've never tried. Some fear betrayal, though they have never been hurt. Some carry a tiny scar and believe it will never heal, living in constant anxiety and exhaustion. What drains us is not reality, but the shadows we create in our own minds. The shadow of a snake in the wineglass never harmed anyone. It was fear that became the poison. In life, we must learn to look up to the ceiling of our own mind, to re-examine our fears and ask, are they even real? When the mind is calm, the world feels peaceful. When we see clearly, life becomes light again. Story number 55, carrying water in the two cracked pots. There was a man who carried water from the well to his house every day. He used a shoulder pole with two clay pots hanging on each side. One pot was whole and intact. The other had a crack on one side, leaking water along the way. Every day when he reached home, the whole pot was full of water. The cracked one only carried half. One day the cracked pot said sadly, "I'm sorry for not doing my job properly. You carry me all the way, but only get half the water." The man smiled gently. "Have you noticed the path we walk? Have you seen the flowers blooming brightly along your side?" The cracked pot was surprised. The man continued, "Knowing you leak, I planted flower seeds along your path. Every day your drips water them. Thanks to you, I now have fresh flowers to offer at the altar and to gift to loved ones. Without you, this road wouldn't be so beautiful." The cracked pot fell silent. For the first time, it realized its flaw didn't make it useless. In fact, it helped create something beautiful without even knowing it. That story makes us wonder, how many times have we felt ashamed of our cracks? How often have we thought we weren't good enough, not smart enough, not as perfect as others? But you don't need to be perfect to be valuable. You only need to be you, because somewhere along your journey, you might be watering someone's life without even knowing it. No one is without flaws. The key is learning how to turn them into meaning. A cracked pot can still raise flowers. A person who once failed can still offer hope. A crack doesn't make you worthless. It just makes you more human. Story number 56, the old carpenter and the last house. An old carpenter decided to retire after many years of dedication to his craft. He went to his boss, expressed his gratitude, and asked to leave the job so he could spend more time with his family. The boss felt regretful. Before letting him go, he asked the carpenter to build one last house. The carpenter reluctantly agreed. But because his mind was already set on rest, he worked carelessly. He used cheap materials and cut corners at every step. When the house was finished, the boss came to see it and unexpectedly handed him the keys. "This is a farewell gift for you," he said. "This house is yours." The carpenter was speechless. If he had known this was the house he would live in, he would have done it differently. He would have used better materials, paid more attention to every detail. But now it was too late. That story is a gentle but profound reminder. Every task you do today, no matter how small, is part of building the house of your life. If you do it half-heartedly, the foundation will be weak. If you give it your all, the result will be strong and lasting. Many people work just to get things done, waiting for retirement, doing things just because they have to, thinking it doesn't matter. But in truth, everything you do will return to you. You live in the house you build with your own hands, no one else's. Whether it's your first job or your last, whether it seems small or significant, do it with your heart. Because you never know that one task might be the turning point in your life. Your attitude decides who you become. Do it for others with responsibility. Do it for yourself with dignity. Those who live well are the ones who build the house of their life with bricks of integrity every single day. Story number 57. The Bottle of Seawater and the Truth About Value. A man was walking along the beach. When he reached the shoreline, he saw an empty plastic bottle washed up by the waves. He picked it up, intending to throw it away, but then noticed a group of children playing nearby. He approached them, filled the bottle with seawater, and asked the kids, "How much do you think this bottle is worth now?" One child replied, "Not worth anything, just some seawater in an old bottle." The man smiled and said, "If I took this bottle into the middle of a desert, where the sun scorches and thirst burns, people would trade a bag of gold for it. If I carried it up a mountain, when a group of hikers ran out of water, it would be more precious than any luxury backpack. But here on this beach, you're right, it's almost worthless." The children fell silent, because they suddenly realized something deeply true. Value is not just about what you have, it's about where you place it. Just like people, no one is useless. They may have just not found the right place, not expressed themselves the right way, or were judged in the wrong context. Some people are highly skilled, but stuck in the wrong environment. Some have great heart, but are always overlooked. Some are talented, but haven't had the chance to shine. That doesn't make them less valuable. It's simply a reminder. To shine, you must first find the place where you belong. And before others recognize your worth, you must learn to see the value within yourself. The bottle of seawater never changed its essence. But when its context changed, so did its value. You're the same. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to understand who you are and choose the right place to be your true self. Story 58. The Stone in the Road and the Man Who Found the Gold. Long ago, a king wanted to test the hearts of his people. He ordered a large stone to be placed in the middle of the main road leading into the city. Then he hid nearby to observe how people would react. Wealthy merchants passed by, scowling. Their servants followed, grumbling. Some cursed the useless officials. Others saw the stone, but walked around it to avoid dirtying their clothes. No one stopped to move the obstacle. By day's end, a poor farmer was returning from the market with vegetables on his back. Seeing the stone blocking the path, he put down his load and used all his strength to push it aside. As the stone rolled away, he noticed a small cloth bag hidden underneath. Inside was gold, along with a handwritten note. "To the one who moves this stone, you deserve this reward. Thank you for choosing action over complaint." The farmer took the gold home, and those who had walked past it before, had they known the truth, would have had nothing to say. That story still holds true today. In life, many people see problems, but only complain. They blame others, blame fate, but few take action. Some avoid challenges, some point fingers, some just stand by and say if only. But then there are those who step forward, even when tired, even when no one asks, even when they're unsure of the result. And often they're the ones who are rewarded, not because they're luckier, but because they chose to act. They didn't stand on the sidelines. They didn't stop at criticism. They rolled up their sleeves and did the work. The stone in your path may be hardship, responsibility, or things no one else wants to deal with. But when you choose to step up, to clear the way, to make a change, that's when rewards come. Whether it's opportunity, trust, growth, or simply a lighter heart and a better life. Story 59, The Fisherman and the Empty Water Jar. There was a man who made a living by fishing. Every early morning, he went out to sea in a small boat, carrying a large jar of water to drink throughout the day. One day, he forgot to fill the jar. Out at sea under the scorching sun, he realized the jar was empty. Sweat poured down. His throat burned. He started to feel irritable. The more he thought about it, the more he blamed himself. The thirst made him tired. He snapped at his fishing net, grew frustrated at the waves. By noon, he hadn't caught a single fish. The next day, he again forgot to fill the jar. But this time, he refused to let himself fall into negativity. He told himself, "The jar is empty, yes, but I still have strength. The wind is on my side, and I have a full day ahead. I'll work hard and return early." He smiled and focused on casting his net. That afternoon, his boat was full of fish. When he reached shore, he rushed to the well and drank gratefully. His heart was full of thanks. This simple story shows the difference between two versions of the same person. One complains about the empty jar. The other chooses to do the best he can with what remains. In life, there will be times you set sail without everything you need. You'll forget something, lose an opportunity, miss a relationship, fail an exam, and you'll feel like you're lacking. But lacking doesn't mean you're helpless. You still have your hands, your skills, your time, and most importantly, your mindset. A negative person sees the empty jar and gives up. A positive person looks at what remains and keeps moving forward. The outcomes differ simply from a shift in thinking. Remember, no one can prepare for everything in life, but anyone can choose a good enough mindset to keep going, even when something seems missing. Story 60, The Broken Bridge and the One Who Dared to Swim Across. There was a small village by a wide river. To get to the other side, villagers usually used a wooden bridge. Though old, it still served them well, taking them to the market, to school, and to work every day. One day, heavy rain came. Floodwaters swept the bridge away. Panic spread through the village. No one dared to step into the water. Everyone waited, hoping someone would come fix the broken bridge. And in the meantime, life in the village came to a halt. But there was one young man. The next morning, he tied his belongings above his head, stepped into the water, and slowly made his way across. Soaked and shivering, he reached the other side. He went on with his day like usual. On his way back, he carried an old man across the river, then a child, then a mother with her baby. Little by little, a living bridge began to form, not made of wood or steel, but of courage. All it took was one person willing to go first. Weeks later, the villagers came together and rebuilt the bridge. But from then on, they no longer relied on just one path. They understood that when the bridge breaks, they can still swim. When the usual road is gone, they can make a new one. This story reflects many real-life situations. We all walk across bridges, stable jobs, familiar relationships, well-laid plans. But sometimes those bridges collapse. And when they do, we freeze. We panic. We blame. We wait for someone else to fix our lives. But there are people who don't wait. They don't ask why the bridge broke. They ask, "What can I do now?" And they step into the water. It's cold, it's deep, but it's real. They are the ones who move forward, the ones who lead, the ones who inspire those still standing on the other side of fear. If today your familiar bridge has vanished, don't panic. Don't stay still. Look within. Maybe you already know how to swim. And if you take just one step into the water, you may find the other side isn't as far as you thought. Story 61, The Seed That Lay Still. All winter, at the beginning of autumn, a farmer planted a seed into the soil. He carefully tended the land, watered it, fertilized it, and waited. But by the end of the season, the ground remained still. Not a single green sprout appeared. People passing by glanced at the field and scoffed. Must have been a dud seed. What a waste of effort. The farmer didn't respond. He quietly continued to care for the land. Winter arrived. Cold winds blew through. Frost blanketed the earth. The entire field turned white. The seed stayed buried in the soil, showing no sign of life. But deep beneath the surface, the seed was not asleep. It silently absorbed moisture, grew stronger, shed its outer shell, preparing for a breakthrough. Then spring came. The warmth returned. One morning through the brown earth, a tiny green sprout pushed upward, strong, confident, and just a few weeks later, the entire field turned a vibrant green. The farmer smiled. Because he knew the most important things always take time to grow. This story reflects the journey of many people who are quietly trying their best. Maybe you've been studying hard but haven't excelled yet, working tirelessly but haven't seen results, giving your all without being recognized. But that doesn't mean you're useless. Some growth happens within. No one sees it. No one knows. But little by little, you're maturing. You're accumulating. You're planting roots deep into life. And then one day, when it's warm enough, when the sun returns, you'll rise. People may be surprised, but you won't. Because you'll know you weren't lying dormant all winter waiting for luck. You were preparing. Don't rush to compare yourself to others. Every seed has its own season to bloom. Your job is to keep nurturing yourself. Keep building every day. And believe, your time to grow tall and shine will come. Story 62. Fire and light. Warming and guiding are not the same. On a cold winter night, two flames were lit. One burned bright and strong, warming everyone who sat nearby. The other was smaller, giving off little heat but casting a soft, steady light that illuminated the path ahead. People gathered around the first flame to feel its warmth. But when they needed to walk through the dark, they turned to the second flame for light. A child once asked, "Why are there two flames?" An elder replied, "Because warming and guiding are two different things. Some people come into your life to bring comfort. Others come to help you see your way forward. The warm flame keeps people close. The bright flame leads them farther." This story is a quiet reminder of two different kinds of presence in our lives. There are those who stay with you when you're down. They listen, they care, they wrap you in comfort. They are like warmth, important, precious. And there are those who aren't always nearby. They don't check in every day. They may not be there when you fall, but when they show up, they remind you of who you are. They inspire you. They shine a light on your path. They make you want to rise again. They are like light. So don't only seek people who make you feel better. Also treasure those who help you become better. Because sometimes the most valuable presence is not the one who stays, but the one who helps you move forward. And in this life, you too can choose to be a flame, to warm someone's heart, or to light someone's way. Ideally both. But if not both, then at least be one. Because this world always needs a little more warmth and a little more light. Story 63. Hot water in a tea bag. A young woman once asked her teacher, "How can you tell if someone is truly strong?" The teacher didn't answer immediately. Instead, he handed her a tea bag and a cup of hot water. He said, "Dip the tea bag into the cup." She followed his instruction. Within seconds, the water began to change color. The aroma spread. The taste grew stronger. The teacher smiled. See, a tea bag only reveals its full flavor when placed in hot water, and people only show their true strength when thrown into difficulty. This simple image carries a deep truth. When everything goes smoothly, anyone can smile. When life is easy, anyone can appear calm, positive, kind. But when things go wrong, when we're betrayed, when we're lost, when we must choose between giving up or pressing on, that's when true character is revealed. You may be smart, well-spoken, kind-hearted, but those qualities only matter if you can keep them in the midst of struggle. Not when the water is cool, but when it boils, not in peace, but in storm. Strength doesn't come from avoiding hardship. It comes from walking through it without losing yourself. Be like the tea bag when life heats up, when you're dropped into uncomfortable situations. Let it be you who sweetens the water, soothes the air, and adds fragrance to wherever you are. Because in the end, a strong person is not one who never faces trouble, but one who doesn't let trouble change their colors for the worse. Story 64. two water carriers and two paths in a small village. Two men were hired to carry water from a distant stream back to the village for daily use. Each day, they walked back and forth with buckets. The more trips they made, the more money they earned. One man worked tirelessly day in and day out. He believed that as long as he worked hard enough, he would be fine. The other man was also hardworking, but after a week, he started making fewer trips. Each evening, instead of resting, he took a shovel and began digging a small trench to lead water directly from the stream to the village. The first man laughed at him. Carrying water brought instant pay. Digging a ditch brought nothing. Months passed. The trench was finally complete. Water now flowed straight into the village. The second man no longer had to carry water, yet he was still paid to maintain the flow and keep the water clean. Meanwhile, the first man continued to carry heavy buckets, his shirt soaked in sweat, his back growing weaker, his income dependent on his strength. Someone asked if he regretted his choice. He remained silent. This story reflects two ways of living. One man chose the fast route. The other invested for the long run. One traded time for money. The other used time to build freedom. Are you carrying buckets or digging a ditch? Are you chasing short-term gains or building a system that runs itself? Are you focused on daily income or quietly creating a steady stream for the future? No one says you can't carry water, but don't carry it forever. Use your strength today to dig a path for tomorrow. Life doesn't just require hard work. It requires strategy, not just effort, but vision. Story 65. The Plow Blade and the Rice Plant. In a wide open field, there was a plow blade used to till the soil. Every day it dove into the hard earth, turning it over, digging deep, and was then set aside as the sun rose higher. Next to it grew a young rice plant, just sprouting above the soil. Seeing the sharp, heavy blade, the rice plant felt afraid. Every time the plow came near, it would tremble. One day it asked, "Why do you keep digging? Why not grow like me? I'm green, I get sunlight and water, but you only tear the ground apart and get dirty." The plow said nothing. It kept working silently, turning the soil, breaking the hard ground, making the land soft and fertile. Seasons passed. The rice plant grew tall, bloomed, and when harvest came, thanks to the soil that had been tilled deep and well, its grains were strong, its stalks sturdy. Only then did the rice plant understand. Without the plow, it would never have grown so well. The plow wasn't green, wasn't beautiful, wasn't tall, but it fulfilled its role. Silently, without envy, without praise. Yet it was the foundation for others to rise. This story is a lesson in comparison. Many of us spend life looking at others, measuring our worth by their achievements, their houses, their cars, their early success. And then we doubt ourselves. But every person has a role. Some are like the rice plant, shining, reaching for the sun. Others are like the plow, digging deep, working silently. No one is better. Each is essential. Stop comparing. Start focusing. Everyone has their own harvest season, their own path of growth. Don't use someone else's ruler to measure your journey. The plow doesn't need to grow tall. It just needs to be sharp enough to till. The rice plant doesn't need to dig. It just needs roots strong enough to stand. And you just need to be steady enough to be truly yourself. Story 66, Two Hands and a Loaf of Bread. A poor little boy lived with his mother in a small house on the edge of the village. Every morning, his mother would prepare a loaf of bread for him to take to school. The bread had no filling, just a crisp, fragrant crust. But to him, it was the most delicious thing in the world. One time he asked his mother, "Mom, why don't you ever eat breakfast?" She smiled. "I already ate." "I'm not hungry," he believed her, and happily ran off with his bread. Many years passed. The little boy grew into a young man, and when he looked back, he finally understood. Back then, his mother didn't eat because she couldn't afford 2 loaves. She went without so he could be full. And each loaf of bread wasn't just breakfast, it was a quiet sacrifice. One day he came back to visit her. He made breakfast and placed a loaf on the table. His mother looked at the bread, eyes welling up. "The bread is the same, only the hands that prepared it have changed." He held her hand. The same hands that once wrapped bread for him, now thin, veined, and calloused. The bread remained soft, but her hands had grown hard from the passing years. This story reminds us that even the smallest things in life can hold the greatest love, that some hands don't do extraordinary things, but they raise an entire life through simple, quiet acts. Don't wait until your parents grow old to feel grateful. Don't wait until you earn your own living to understand the value of a morning loaf of bread. And don't say love only with words. Show it through your actions every day. Those two hands once sacrificed for you. Now it's your turn to give back with your own hands, even if it's just a meal, a conversation, a gentle wipe of your parents' face. That is true love. Story 67. The shadow on the wall and the light within. There was a boy who often sat alone in the corner of his room. He didn't like looking in the mirror. He didn't want to go outside. He didn't dare talk to anyone because there was a large scar on his face from a childhood accident. Every day at school, he walked with his head down, avoiding everyone's gaze. He believed he was ugly. He thought anyone who looked at him would feel sorry or disgusted. Gradually, he shut himself away from the world, talking only to his shadow each afternoon. One day, the teacher gave the class an assignment. Go home, shine a light on your shadow on the wall, and write down 3 positive things you see in it. The boy didn't plan to do it, but that evening, in a quiet moment, he turned on a lamp, stood in front of the wall, and looked at his shadow. To his surprise, the shadow had no scar. It was just a simple shape, standing tall and clear. He sat down and wrote his first sentence. I can still stand tall. Then the second, I have a healthy body. And finally, the third, I can still see the light. The next day, he turned in the assignment. The teacher read it aloud to the class. No one laughed, no one mocked, only silence. And eyes filled with understanding, the teacher placed a hand on his shoulder and said, your shadow has no scar because it only appears when there is light and you have light within you. Don't let one scar dim the brilliance of who you are. From that day on, the boy began to lift his head a little higher, not because the scar disappeared, but because it no longer blocked the light shining from within him. This story is for anyone who has ever felt ashamed of something in their past. Everyone has scars on their skin or in their heart. But scars are not ugly. They are proof that you endured pain and you're still here. Don't look at yourself with fear. Look with the light that lives inside you, because your shadow would never exist if there wasn't a light shining from your heart into the world. Story 68. The broken glass and the lesson of forgiveness. One afternoon while cleaning the house, a little boy accidentally dropped a glass cup his mother deeply cherished. The glass shattered on the tile floor, shards scattered everywhere. The boy panicked. His eyes welled up with tears. He knew his mother would be sad because that cup was a gift from his late father. The mother walked in. She looked at the scene in silence, then gently picked up a broom and dustpan. When she finished cleaning, she sat down and pulled her son into her arms. She said, I'm sad, but I forgive you because I know you didn't mean to, and because I love you more than any cup. The boy broke down in her embrace, not because he was afraid, but because he felt something far more powerful than anger. He felt compassion. This story may seem small, but it reflects something very real in relationships. We have all hurt someone with a careless word, an impulsive act, a failure to understand. And we have all been hurt by neglect, by someone's mistake, by moments when we weren't truly heard. When hurt happens, some people choose to carry it forever, to bring it up again and again, to let it fester like a wound that won't heal. But others choose to forgive, not because they are weak, but because they understand. Some things that break cannot be mended with blame, only with love. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's remembering without letting it hurt anymore. It's knowing we all make mistakes and that everyone deserves a chance to make things right. A broken cup may never be whole again, but love can still be repaired. As long as one is willing to hold on with compassion and the other, willing to make amends with sincerity. If you are holding a crack in your heart, ask yourself, are you keeping the broken glass to hold a grudge, or are you trying to mend it with kindness? Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes the present and softens the future. Story 69. The dull knife and the bladesmith. There was a knife that had been made long ago, but because it was never used, it became dull and rusty over time. The owner decided to throw it away until an old bladesmith asked to take it home. People laughed. Why bother with such a ruined knife? It's dull, ugly. No amount of sharpening will bring it back. The bladesmith said nothing. He began his work day after day. He spent time sharpening the blade, bit by bit, patiently, relentlessly. Sometimes the rust was too thick. He had to use coarse grinding stones. Sometimes his hands bled because the edge was slowly returning. After 3 months, the knife gleamed. Its edge was razor sharp. It was sold to a famous chef from something once considered trash. It became a tool that crafted culinary masterpieces. When people asked for his secret, the bladesmith simply said, "There is no knife that cannot be sharpened. Only knives that haven't been sharpened long enough or were abandoned too early." That story mirrors the journey of many people. Some start slow. Some are looked down upon. Some feel they're not smart enough, not fast enough, not as outstanding as others, and then they give up. They label themselves useless and walk away. But the truth is, no one is born sharp. No one is naturally great. Everyone needs time to be honed, to learn to fail and correct, to dull and then refine. You don't have to become the best right away. You just have to keep sharpening yourself a little more each day. Every mistake is a moment on the grindstone. Every criticism is a chance to inspect your cut, and one day you will be sharp. Not to show off, but to live up to the potential you truly have, because the only thing that defines a knife's value is not its original form, but how well it's been sharpened through time. Story 70. The Broken Ladder and the Man Who Climbed with His Hands. There was a man climbing a mountain using an old wooden ladder. He stepped up slowly but steadily. Each rung brought him closer to the peak he had always dreamed of. But just a short distance from the top, a rung beneath his feet suddenly snapped. He lost balance. The ladder swayed. Below was a deep abyss. Above was his goal. From afar, voices called out, "Jump down. It's too dangerous. Don't push yourself." He gritted his teeth. He did not look back. Instead of letting go, he grabbed the side of the ladder, pushed himself upward inch by inch. There were no more rungs to stand on, so he used his elbows. His knees scraped his skin raw, but he did not stop when he finally reached the summit. His hands were covered in blood, but his eyes were full of light. Everyone fell silent. No more warnings, only admiration. That story is the reflection of those who have once come close to their dream, only to stumble close to success, but then faced failure. At that moment, you have two choices: give up or climb with your own hands. Life never promises you a steady ladder. It only gives you a chance. Whether you hold on to the end or not is up to you. Some people have everything but quit halfway. Some have nothing but never stop climbing, and it is they who reach the peak. If today the rung beneath your feet is breaking, your work unfinished, your plans falling apart, your life not going as expected, remember this: you still have your hands, you still have your will, you still have a path ahead if you keep moving. Climbing with your hands may hurt, but there is no pain greater than giving up on your own dream. Story 71. The Door Without a Handle. In an old house stood a very strange door. From the outside, it looked beautiful, sturdy, decorated with intricate carvings, but something was missing. The door had no handle. Many people came to try and open it. They tried everything. They knocked, they pushed. Some even searched around for a hidden switch, but none could get in. One day, a young woman arrived. She stood quietly, staring at the door for a long while. Then she said softly, "If there's no handle outside, perhaps it's on the inside." She didn't push, didn't force. She gently knocked 3 times and waited. Moments later, the door opened. An old man appeared, smiling. "You're the first to understand. Some doors only open from within, not by force, but by understanding." That story is more than just about a door. It's about opportunities. It's about people, and it's about the quiet corners of our own hearts. Some opportunities won't open, no matter how hard you push. Some people will only open up when they feel truly safe, and some doors inside you will only unlock When you are calm enough to hear your own voice instead of forcing the door, try knocking instead of demanding from others. Give them the space to come to you. And most importantly, when you stand before a door in your life, don't just ask if it's beautiful or grand. Ask where is the handle. If it's inside, then maybe the change has to begin with you. Because some doors, like happiness, like peace, can never be opened by someone else, only by you. Story 72. The Pebble and the Stream. In a mountain crevice, a gentle stream flowed. It was not strong, not loud, just a quiet trickle weaving between the rocks. Day after day, in the middle of the stream sat a large stone, rough, jagged, blocking the flow of water. But the stream did not get angry, it did not roar, it did not try to destroy. It simply flowed around the stone, seeping into every crack, patiently, softly, without pause. Over the years, the stone remained, but it changed, no longer sharp. No longer blocking the stream, it became smooth, rounded, resting gently in the current. People now called it a pebble. A child once asked, how could the tiny stream do such a great thing? An elder replied, because the stream never gave up, and because the stone allowed itself to soften over time. That story is a lesson about transformation. Some people try to change everything at once. Some give up at the first struggle, but others choose patience, quiet strength, enduring every obstacle with steady effort, like the stream. You don't have to be powerful or dramatic, just consistent, just persistent. And even the hardest stone will begin to soften. And if today you feel like the stone, rigid, stuck, blocking your own flow, trust that time and gentle awareness can shape you. Let the stream of life pass through you. Don't resist, open up. Let go and allow change to happen as naturally as water softening rock. You don't need to hurry, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep flowing, like water, like wind, like morning light, quiet, but stronger than anything else. Story 73. The Net Mender and the Lesson from Small Holes. In a quiet fishing village by the sea, there lived a man known for being diligent and meticulous. Every morning, like the others, he would go out to sea. But no matter how tired he would always sit under his porch in the evening, inspecting and mending every small hole in his fishing net. People in the village laughed. That takes too much time, they said. A few tiny holes don't matter. The net still works. He only smiled and kept mending, patiently, day after day. Then came a year of storms. The sea was rough. Fish became scarce. Whenever the sky cleared, everyone rushed out to sea. But many fishermen returned with torn nets. The fish slipped through. Boats came back empty. Only that one man continued bringing in full nets. And then they understood. Because he mended the small holes every day, his net stayed strong when the storms came. That story is a clear lesson about how we handle the small tears in life. A little laziness, a moment of pride, an apology never said, a mistake left unchecked. If you don't mend it in time, it grows. It wears down. And when you need strength, need results, need something to hold on to, those tiny holes will be what cause you to lose it all. At work, if you notice a mistake, fix it. In love, if there's a crack, heal it. In yourself, if there's a bad habit, change it. Don't wait until it becomes a gaping hole, because nets don't tear all at once. They start from a single thread ignored. You don't need to be perfect, but you must be consistent in fixing what's not right. Like the net mender, quiet, steady, and always ready when the storm comes. Story 74. The Wrong Size Sandals and the Lesson of Choosing What Fits. One day, a young man walked into a shoe store. He saw a pair of sandals that looked amazing. A new model, perfect color, famous brand, and on sale. He tried them on, a bit tight, but he liked them so much he bought them anyway. At first, he tried to tolerate it, told himself he'd get used to it. But the more he walked, the more his feet hurt. Every step was painful. Every evening he came home with swollen red feet. Someone advised him to switch, but he said, "They're so nice. It'd be a waste. I've already paid." Then one day, walking down the stairs, he tripped. The tight sandal slipped off, throwing him off balance. He twisted his foot, hurt his back. That's when he finally stopped. The next day he wore his old sandals. Not fancy, not new, but they fit. They were soft, comfortable, and he no longer hurt. That story may seem simple, but it mirrors many decisions in life. We often choose things that look shiny, popular, admired by others, but forget the most important question. Does it really fit me? A good job isn't just about a high salary. It's about matching your values. A great partner isn't just good looks or sweet words. It's about peace when you're together. A big opportunity isn't always meant for you if it costs you more than you're able to bear. Some things, no matter how beautiful, don't fit. The more you force it, the more it hurts. The longer you hold on, the more exhausted you become. And one day it might be the very thing that causes you to fall. Learn to let go, not because you're not good enough, but because you deserve what truly fits. What feels right? What takes you farther with ease? The best pair of sandals isn't the most expensive. It's the one that lets you walk freely, comfortably, on the path that belongs to you. Story 75. The Empty Pen and the Lesson of Lasting Value. In a classroom, a student was taking his final exam with the same pen he had used all year. It was a simple pen, nothing fancy, but every word he had written was tied to it. As the final minutes of the exam ticked away, the pen began to fade. He shook it gently, tried to squeeze out a few more words. On the very last line, it stopped. Out of ink. The student smiled. No panic, no regret, because the pen had written until its very last drop. It didn't quit halfway. It didn't break. It didn't give up early. It fulfilled its role completely until there was nothing left to give. When he got home, he placed the pen on his desk. Didn't throw it away. Didn't feel sad. Just nodded with quiet gratitude. That story is a gentle image of what it means to live fully. Some people live long lives but leave no mark. Others, even in a short time, leave something unforgettable. Like the pen. It didn't need to be expensive. Didn't need a shiny shell. It just needed to write steadily to the very end. Life is like that. It doesn't have to be flashy. You don't need applause. You just need to do your part. Be kind. Work hard. Give your best, even in the smallest things every single day. And when your journey ends, you may have nothing left to give, but you'll have lived in such a way that there's nothing left to regret. An empty pen is not sad, because it was used to its full value. And you, if today were the final page of a chapter, have you lived like that yet? Story 76, The Matchbox and the Only Flame. On a cold night high in the mountains, a man was trapped inside a wooden cabin. The wind howled, snow fell thick, and the temperature dropped hour by hour. He searched everywhere. Found an old matchbox inside. Only one match remained, just one. No firewood, no stove. Only a dusty oil lamp sat on the table. His hands trembled with cold. He asked himself, should I strike it now, or wait a little longer? If he struck it too soon and failed to light the lamp, that would be the end. If he waited too long, he might lose the strength to strike at all. Finally, he took a deep breath, shielded the match with his shaking hands and struck. A small flame appeared. He quickly lit the oil lamp. A warm light flared up, golden alive. He made it through the night because of one decision made at the right moment. This story isn't just about a match, it's about timing, about opportunity, about the kind of moment that only comes once in life. Sometimes you only get one chance. One chance to say sorry, one chance to choose what matters, one chance to begin again. If you hesitate, that chance might fade away. If you fear failure, you'll never know if the flame could have lit. But if you dare to strike, even with trembling hands, even without certainty, you give yourself the chance to light your own path. Moments do not repeat opportunities, do not wait, and the flame within you, if left untouched, will slowly fade over time. Don't hold the match in your hand forever. Don't sit and tremble until it's too late. Choose your moment, take action, and remember, even a small flame can turn a cold night into warmth and survival. Story 77, The Pathmaker and the Map Critic. In a small mountain town, there lived a man who quietly devoted his life to drawing maps of the surrounding trails. Each day, he carried a notebook, a compass, and measuring tools. He crossed rivers, climbed steep cliffs, slept in the forest, all to record each curve and turn of the winding paths. After 3 years, he completed a detailed map showing every trail, bend, and hill. He hung it in the town square for travelers and locals to use freely. People came to see it. Some complained it lacked colors. Some said it wasn't modern enough. Others criticized that one road looked different from what they remembered. But none of them had walked every path. None had fallen crossing the rocks. None had waited for sunrise in the cold, just to measure one more slope. They only looked and judged one day. A young man got lost in the forest. Night was falling. His phone had no signal. In his pocket was the old map the old man had once given out. That map guided him back home. The next morning, the young man returned. He bowed and said, "I once thought your map was outdated, but it saved me when I needed it most." The old man simply smiled. That story is a lesson for us all. Don't rush to criticize what you haven't poured your heart into. Don't judge someone's work when you haven't walked their path. There are people who live quietly. They build roads not for applause, but so others can walk more safely. They are the path makers, and if we cannot walk beside them, at least let us not stand on the sidelines and mock the map. Let us learn to look with respect, speak with kindness, and live with understanding.